that talking about something. How many of you would say, honestly, that you know for certain that you have no enemies? So all of us recognize that we probably have an enemy, or two, or maybe more, right? Isn't that the first question they ask on TV when they interview somebody who's been murdered, the person who's their relative of the person who's been murdered? Do you have any enemies? No. Everybody has enemies. It's interesting that Jesus talked about enemies because he said we're supposed to love our enemies. And I don't know that that's really possible for me to do without him. I don't think it's possible for any of us to do that because enemies really want to hurt us and they want to undo us. And they're not our friends. But he said, pray for your enemies and seek to do them good. So what I'll do tonight is just pray for us as a group, that, because we all have enemies, pray that we would see the need to pray for our enemies, or those that we know are our enemies, maybe the ones we don't as well, and to be able to show kindness to them when that's the last thing in the world they expect. Let's pray. Father, I pray that you would help us to see the need to pray for others who don't like us or respect us or even hate us. I pray that you would help us to see the need to pray for them and families, and that you would cause us to remember to pray for them regardless of what they've done to us or what they're doing to us, because that's your command, to love our enemies and to pray for them. And so I pray that you would help us to remember to do that, and as we do that, I pray that you would change our enemies' hearts as you change ours. We pray for tonight's meeting, that you would give us peace, and that you would give us cooperation, and that you would give us respect for each other as we present and as we hear and as we deliberate. And we just thank you for our Board of Supervisors who are willing to lead this county and to make decisions for us. Some are difficult, and we don't always like those decisions. Help us to see those decisions not made by enemies, but made by people who have to make decisions that are hard ones, but necessary. So help us now to be people called by you, who are humble, and who pray, and who seek your face. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everybody's seen the agenda. Does anybody have any changes to the agenda?
No, sir.
Like a motion to approve the agenda?
I so move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. We've got a couple of sets of minutes in there. There's 3 sets. You've got June 1st, May 15th, and March 20th. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes?
Yes, sir.
Did anyone have any corrections to the minutes?
No, sir.
I'd like a motion to approve the minutes as read.
Mr. Chairman, move to approve the special meeting minutes from June 1st, the regular meeting from May 15th, and the regular meeting held March 20th, all of 2025.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unopposed? All right, minutes have been approved. We have delegations from the public. Is that sheet, Andre, can you get the sheet for me? Thank you. We only have one tonight, Mr. Sonny Abbott.
Mr. Chairman, members of
Good
the board.
evening.
Good evening, sir.
Thank you. It's good to be here. I have 2 very brief things. First, I would hope that the Virginia Department of Transportation will find a way to keep Little Creek Road open for more than 50 weeks a year. Shut down for 2 weeks this year, or will be in July, and it has been for the past couple of years. Hopefully they'll be able to figure something out. And more importantly, in your books, if you look at the investment sheet, those numbers can't be real, because it starts with 11.4, ends with 13.5, and last month it was 14.5, with the previous month at 15.5. Numbers just don't work. I would hope one day that someone would look at those in advance to try to make them more accurate. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Okay, we have no public hearings, and then we have a guest, Ms. Katie Martin, bear biologist, to talk about the area bear population. This will be a good presentation.
Oh, good evening. Thank y'all for having me.
Good evening.
Yeah, so I'm Katie Martin. I'm our statewide, actually, deer, bear, turkey biologist, so don't just cover bears, but Steve, when he said he has me in his phone, it just says bear girl, so I said, all right, well, we can talk about bears, that's all right, and bears are probably one of my favorites, so. He had asked, could I just provide some information kind of about bear population here in the county? Happy to answer any questions. Got a few materials I can leave here for you, but basically, yes, we have a robust bear population now in Nottoway County, and 20, 30 years ago, that was not the case. Of course, bears were a native species here. They have been here pre-settlement times, basically got extirpated by the early 1900s, but since game law regulations have been in place, they have made a strong comeback. And really in the last 20 to 30 years here, we certainly see an infiltration of bears in the Piedmont area. And some of that just has to do with, bears in the mountains dispersing out when they have to set up a territory. We have bears coming up from the Dismal Swamp. Of course, we're not that far from North Carolina. We get some of their bears coming in. And we have fantastic habitat in this county for bears. We've got wooded areas. We've got ag lands. We're rural. We got big creek and river systems that they like to travel on. So it's just it's good bear habitat. So they've set up residence here and they like it here pretty well. So we manage bears across the state based on zones. So Nottoway County is not in itself how we manage a bear population. We do population numbers for bears across a zone. And it's just because bears move large distances. A bear in Nottoway today could be in Lunenburg tomorrow, and Brunswick the next day, over in Dinwiddie. They move a lot. So Nottoway sits in what we call Zone 12. If you go on our website, look at our black bear management plan, we've got 22 bear zones across the state. Nottoway is in Zone 12. That includes Prince Edward, Cumberland, Amelia, Mecklenburg, Charlotte. Let's see, that's probably that kind of grouping right there, kind of the little bit of south side there. And I'll tell you that Charlotte and Lunenburg carry that zone in terms of harvest and bear numbers. They are very robust populations in those two counties. Nottoway kind of sits in the middle right there. But over the last probably 5-10 years, as we've had more bears, we've increased our bear harvest season. So we've got a month-long archery season that's in October. We've got a 1-week muzzleloader season in November. And then we currently have a 5-week firearm season, which that just increased in 2023. We went up from 2 weeks to 5 weeks. And that has led to increased numbers of bears being harvested, especially in that firearm season. That's a very popular season. It overlaps with our deer season. Dogs are allowed in that season for both bear and deer, and so it's become, a lot of our deer hunt clubs have become pretty big bear hunt clubs as well, and really enjoy hunting bear. So that's kind of been our harvest. Last year we harvested 45 bears here, or 35 bears, excuse me, in Nottoway. Year before was 45. So it can fluctuate year to year just based on food resources, weather, things like that. But across that zone 12, the population is actually stable. It has been increasing for about the last 10 years. That is why we increased the harvest season in 2023, and now we're kind of stabling off, which is what we would like to do. We're kind of at that point hearing from people, we don't really want too many more bears across this area, so we want to kind of level it off and stabilize it. And so probably the biggest thing we hear about from residents about bears in these rural areas, our top 2 complaints are trash and bird feeders. 60% of our calls about bear conflict is just trash. And it's residential garbage that you've got at your house, it's garbage at restaurants, it's landfills, so we get all of it. Here in the county, I've noticed now there are trash pickup services that come out into the county, and so there are dumpsters or trash receptacles sitting at the end of driveways in very rural areas. that's just asking for a bear to come get it. That is an easy, easy food source. So bears are kind of lazy. They just go for the easiest food they can find. They love trash. So that'll be something we probably need to address with our county residents, helping them realize, better ways to secure that garbage so you're not inviting a bear to get into trouble there. And then bird feeders, real simple. Just take them down when there's a bear around and you don't have an issue with them. So, but those are our top two year over year. What we get with conflict calls with bears. Of course, agriculture damage can occur. Corn is probably their #1 favorite that they love. You go a little southeast of here, peanuts. They figured out how to dig up the peanuts, so they also love peanuts. Soybeans they'll mess with, but not nearly as much as corn. But it is interesting, our good habitat here, and we've got some bears that we do research over here. So we've got bears with GPS collars and tags in them so we can track them and learn more about their movements and habits here in the Piedmont. They won't go to corn as much as we see bears in our mountain areas, which don't have the available food resources like we have got. We've got so much natural food and cover, they just don't have to go to corn. But in a year when it's a little lean, they're going to hit corn late, especially if that corn hadn't been cut till late. And then that first 2 weeks of August when that corn's in that milk stage, I mean, you drive by a field, you can smell it. They can smell it from a long ways, and that's like candy to them. So they do like to hit corn there at times. Not so much usually issues with livestock. They're not really big on messing with livestock much at all. We get an occasional report, but very, very rare. And then just the last thing I'll leave you, kind of an emergent issue, is some disease issues with bears. And so sarcoptic mange is on the landscape. Probably everybody has seen a fox or a coyote with mange before. It's missing hair, looks pretty rough and crusty. And about 10 years ago, we started seeing this in our bears up in the Shenandoah Valley. And now over time, it's spread. We've got it down Nelson, Buckingham, kind of that area, Botetourt County, we've gotten it. And we've actually had 2 reports now in Nottoway with pictures of bears with mange. So they're just missing hair, kind of crusty looking, still in good body condition. They can survive it. They don't always die from it, especially if they are in good shape. But just something to be aware of. I've got some brochures I can leave here. We have a conflict line that we ask people to report if they see a bear with mange. Or if you're having a conflict with bear or any other wildlife, you can call this toll-free number and get a lot of good advice.
I'll read the number out if you want.
Yeah, that would be, I can tell it. I kind of got it by heart. It's
Okay, go ahead.
1-855-571-9003. So it's, we use it a lot. But yeah, that was kind of just what Administrator Bowen had asked me to kind of go over, but I'm happy to take any questions or anything anybody else would
The
like.
main takeaway is that homeowners can control their interactions with bear by just a couple of steps.
Yep, just food it's all about easy food, keeping your easy foods up, and they're just going to pass by and go back into the woods. They don't really want to be around people, but we create easy food, so that kind of gets them near us. But most of the time they want to stay in the woods, so just keeping those foods secure.
Mr. Chairman, Ms. Martin, thank you. Wonderful presentation, by the way. I've got 2 quick questions. Do you know the biggest bear that may have been taken right off the top of your head in Nottoway this year?
Not in Nottoway, I don't. I can tell you, statewide biggest bear we've ever had was 784 pounds down in southeast Virginia. Of course, we had a big 680-pounder in Charlotte a couple years ago. There's been some huge 600 high fives in Brunswick. I don't know right off the top of my head, but I could look it up and let you know.
I was just curious, for the trophy hunters out there,
Yeah.
looking around in Nottoway and stuff like that. Trophy hunters are good because they pick and choose what they want to do. But I was also wondering, what in the world, I hear about bigger bear coming out of Lunenburg, and I was like, what do they feed them next door to us? Trail mix.
Well, hopefully not. Now, it is illegal to feed bears in Virginia, but that big swamp country, you got the Meharon River, the Nottoway River, we got bears that have just been able to sit for years and years and not get disturbed. They can get big. And then again, our food resources are so good. These bears can pack on pounds like a bear that's, you go walk in the mountains, you're going to get a little thinner than if you walk around here usually. So except this week, they're probably
So
sweating
Dickie,
it
I
all
love
off.
this. Sola's not good to raising trophy bears.
That is correct. When do you usually see them? Because I've had a bear in my backyard the last 2 Junes. I've got the pictures. I've also got the pictures of the bird feeders they tore up. Broke off, just took the poles down. I got a picture of him reaching up to get it.
It may be the same bear. He might just have a root.
Yep.
He remembers where he got something to eat, so then he
He's,
goes back.
The last one that came, he couldn't find anything. I think the birds had cleaned at the feeder, so he got up and looked and he moseyed on down.
June is a great time. So
usually when I see
June
'em.
is about the time when the breeding season starts. So you kind of got two things going on. Female bears keep their offspring for about a year and a half. So now's when they start kicking them away. So these bears are 16 to 18 months old, and we equate them to 18-year-old teenagers. They don't really know what to do yet, so they're moving around trying to set up a home range. They're often the ones in a backyard looking for bird seed, looking for trash, things like that. So if you see a bear about 100 pounds or less, that's a yearling bear that's been kicked off. The rest of them are moving, especially the males. It's breeding season kicking off. So
That's
June
what I
and July is
figured.
a great
Like I said,
time.
That's when I see them.
Do you hear much about livestock feed, barns, sheds?
Not so much in sheds or in barns. Now, they will run around through the cow pasture and pick through some leftovers every once in a while. They're not usually getting into a barn, getting into a shed. They're not so much, but they certainly will. Chicken coops has become the big one. As more and more folks do backyard chicken coops, they're not after the chicken, they're after the scratch, the feed that's in there because it has
So
corn in
I
it.
see in the mountains that people would put that small electric fence around beehives
Yep.
and their chicken. So that's another way that our citizens could protect their chickens. Get
It's fantastic.
Just a
Fencing
small,
works.
small electric charge. fence.
Absolutely. Yep. Electric fence, we recommend that around chicken coops. We recommend it around all kinds of things. Fencing, as long as properly maintained, just like any fence, if you just have it and it's grown up with weeds and shorting out, it's not going to work. But if you have a good maintained electric fence, you can keep them out of about anything.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask one question? Because I'm absolutely
Certainly, Mr. Vanderbeck.
curious. Why do they hate trail cameras?
They just
It's
smell.
just curiosity.
They
Yep.
don't yank them down off a tree every daggone time.
So wear leather gloves when you they smell you, so they know
Is that what
that
it
it's
is,
the
the odor?
smell. Yep. So if you put on a pair of leather gloves or even just like some medical gloves and do it, it's a little less. But yeah, it's just curiosity.
They are amazing. Man. You put them up and they will yank that right
They will. Yeah, they know. They don't like having their photo taken.
All right. Anybody else have any questions for Ms. Martin? Mrs. Martin? Thank you very much for your presentation,
Thank you, Ms.
for
Martin.
your time.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just gonna leave these up here if anybody would like a brochure on mange or bear stuff. Really appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you, Katie.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I had to get Katie up here. I'm getting a lot of calls about bears. I think some of them on Rocky Ford Road. Last year was 2 bears, and I got a call from the same person, said, guess what, Steve, it's 4 bears, so something must have happened. to increase
We
the
had
population,
my
so.
wife's bird feeder was one on a shepherd's crook, and it was bent over 90 degrees, and she always tells me there's no bears, but it was 3/4 inch steel.
Yeah.
So I feel like there was probably a bear.
That's a heavy bird.
Right, I see, that is a big bear.
Guys, let's move on.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Department report's going to go
Fall
to
down.
Virginia Department of Transportation.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, good evening.
Good evening.
Hey, good evening,
Hate
Frank.
to say it, but the 46 bridge is open.
All right, that was,
We're so glad to hear
they
that.
knew that 35 seconds after it opened. I think one of the
Absolutely.
deputies was the first one across it.
We wrapped up picking up some of the detour signs for that project today, some of the 40-foot truck length restriction signs and such. So everything associated with that project is wrapped up. Taking care of some paperwork on the back end, but it is ready to go. The 723 and 460 R-Cut project, Phase 2 is nearing completion on that project, and we'll be moving to Phase 3. This is the phase that will require a detour on 723. Right now, the contractor plans to implement that closure sometime week after next, July 7th to 9th. We'll see that closure. Detour will be signed using First Street through the town of Burkeville. Northbound, traffic on 723 will be able to traverse through the intersection, travel east and west on 460, as well as north across the other side. But southbound, traffic on 723 will have to take the detour. That detour will take about 30 days, more or less, depending on weather for the contractor. Knock that out. Route 611 Little Creek Road, we will be closing that road, weather permitting, on the 7th of July to take care of that culvert crossing. It's a culvert there. We just constantly have a sedimentation issue in the culvert. It's the nature of the soils in the area, and some logging far upstream. No fault to the loggers. It's just kind of a natural thing that happens when we see an area get logged. It changes the amount of water that flows to it, changes the velocity of water, and we get more sedimentation. So,
Was this the same reason the closure was last year?
Yes, sir.
Is it this particular culvert?
yes, sir.
Is there any remedy to that? Other than digging it up and putting bigger pipes in it?
It's a huge pipe, probably the biggest one you can put.
It is a very large pipe in the area. It would be a very expensive project to pull it up and replace it. The pipes there are in pretty acceptable condition. They are metal pipes. They do have a shorter life than what we would see from a concrete or a plastic pipe, but I believe they are arch pipes.
That's a metal pipe there?
I believe so, yes, sir.
I always thought it was plastic. What is it, Sonny? You cross it often. Is it metal or is it plastic?
I believe they're arch pipes, and
Okay.
it's typical that we see more sedimentation in the corrugated metal pipes because the corrugations catch more of the sediment and debris. The smooth concrete or plastic pipe flows much better and it doesn't catch debris, or it's much harder for beavers to build a dam in a plastic or concrete pipe than it is the metal pipe. But we see the corrugated pipes like this a lot, especially in high flow areas like Little Creek, because that corrugated structure can take more water than a conventional round pipe with less road over top of it. So there's not a lot of cover on those pipes. It's hydraulically more efficient, but that is a structure. It's considered a structure, and so it's maintained by the bridge crew. I will kind of take a look at it with them and see if they have kind of a life cycle replacement scheduled for that. I don't believe there's one right now.
I think it's relatively new,
It is.
very much so. It's not, Sonny?
No. They cleaned it out. This is the third year, at least the third year, could be the fourth year. They did a lot of work last year. They made a stone hollow out of it. But the sand comes from somewhere.
That's what you were talking about.
A lot of it is just the natural soils in the area. They're prone to moving, prone to sedimentation.
All right. You got Whitehurst Paving?
Whitehurst Paving, I believe, is wrapping up operations in the county as well. They had some slurry seal that they were wrapping up, I believe, in the town of Crew. And we had the asphalt contractor Branscombe working on 360. That section of 360 is done as well. So we should be complete with all resurfacing operations in the county for the season, contract resurfacing. We are going to resurface Jonesboro Road as well. Once we get the Crystal Lake Road Rural Rustic project done, we'll have the resurfacing equipment that we need in the county. So crew is going to knock out Crystal Lake Road Rural Rustic here in the next couple of weeks, get that hard surfaced, and jump over and take care of Jonesboro. They're going to do some substantial asphalt patching and paving on Jonesboro, and then shoot over top of it, surface treatment.
That other road over there too, is that Cedar?
I believe so, yes, sir.
Okay, that needs addressed also.
I will check, so that's Brunswick County and the South Hill Residency, but I'll check with my counterparts.
Make sure they're aware of it.
Yes, sir, absolutely. The Darville's Road, Military Road roundabout, that is nearing, I guess, some substantial milestones in the near future. We've got a pre-advertisement conference next week, so all of the different engineering disciplines get together and look at basically the final plans for the project, myself included, and weigh in, and any last minute changes need to be made. That's when it's done, and then we put it out on the street for advertisement. So right now that project is scheduled for advertisement in the fall of this year with a winter construction start date. However, there may be some trees taken down ahead of schedule. So a couple years ago, we started being limited in when we can remove trees due to an endangered species of bat. There are trees as part of this project. We suspect by the time we get to that phase of the project with the tree removal, we won't be able to remove the trees because of the time of year restriction due to the bats. So there may be some trees taken down ahead of time, maybe in the next couple months, just to get ahead of that and get around that restriction more or less. And then we'll move to construction spring of next year. As I said, Nottoway, the area headquarters is working on Crystal Lake Road. They've been hauling a lot of rock to the area headquarters here, and then they'll be starting construction on that. If they have not already, it should be next week. We have been doing some site distance mowing on our divided highways at all the crossovers, but we do plan to begin another full cycle of mowing in the next couple of weeks. We'll issue that task order out to our contractors. It is getting pretty high. We are wrapping up some tree trimming on 460 as well, right there on the eastern end of the county. Additionally, you should see new pavement markings at the crossover at 460 and 460 Business and Yellowbird Road, where you can go south in town of Blackstone. That crossover, the pavement markings in it are pretty faded. The yield markings in center line and such through there are pretty faded. So that should get refreshed here in the next couple of weeks as well. They're going to come down 460 and do several crossovers, including that one. Last but not least, and I know it's probably the last thing on anybody's mind, but in a couple of weeks we'll advertise for our annual snow removal contract. So that process starts in 2 weeks for me. I think it's on the 7th that advertisement will hit the street, and we will begin our snow sign-up shortly. Any questions this evening?
I want to thank you for getting the dead trees off my road. Yeah, I think I got 4 in one day. One was on my side and 3 on the other side.
We were speaking about the military roundabout, military road roundabout. I looked at a trucker's dash cam on 2 different occasions, 2 different truckers, where somebody pulled out in front of him. He was running 30, one of them was running 30 at 31, the other one was running 35, the trucker. Both times, it was an accident avoided. Sheriff, is there any way we can write some county tickets down there to help generate some revenue and make it safer? No, it's not a roundabout yet. But I've reviewed 2 videos on dash cams of road tractors, CF Marion trucks, one of them, that a pickup pulled right out in front of him. Never checked up. And he's got train horns on his truck, and he laid down on it. But the truck driver was running about 31, and it's 45 through that. He could have been running 45, and had he been running 45, he'd have killed him. If it would generate some county income and some,
You want a presence.
and it would be more safer.
Presence.
They've been up there writing tickets at the stop sign that comes through there. But again, stuff like that, it's an infraction, they have to witness it.
Right, that's what I'm saying. But if they sitting in the bush, if they sitting there obvious to be seen, they're not gonna run the stop sign. But if they backed up in the bushes like the old days, they can write a few tickets there every day.
That's true too, if you find some place.
Or if you got an old car, you just park it up there and don't even put somebody in there would deter them from doing it. If somebody gets killed, we'll say, well, we wish we'd have done a little something different than that. And it has been several people that has accidents at, which is bringing the roundabout up, yeah.
Mr. French, I'd like to address the arc cut at 723.
Yes, ma'am.
I have literally gotten more calls and more engaged conversations about that than I did the budget. And I appreciate VDOT's mission for safety there. It's only about less than 3 miles from my house. But I've been through there the last 2 weeks multiple times, and speed is a huge factor during that area during construction time. I've seen quite a few people flying through there, never checking up, so that's something I think that needs to be addressed. Maybe
I think the
sheriff
speed limit through that area is 55 in the work zone there.
Yes, sir.
It's not reduced any.
But it's very dangerous with all those barriers and everything. And like I say, appreciate your mission for safety, but I've had a lot of calls about it, a whole lot of calls. And also, kudos to your crew. I was by there the other day, and the temperature on my vehicle was 104, and they were out there pouring concrete. So we
That's a
appreciate
contractor.
what they do.
That ain't a VDOT crew, Dad.
Whatever, whoever's doing it, it's appreciated.
VDOT workers got a whole lot better sense than go out there when it's hot like that.
They were out there, they were holding a shovel.
Yeah, I know with the pockets upside down.
Mr. Rourke?
2 quick things, Ms. French. First of all, one of them is totally off the thing, but while you're talking about that, Jonesboro Road and Cedar Creek Road, where those diversions were at,
Yes, sir.
is there any plans to do any repairs or repaving in other areas that was damaged? Or do y'all have a time frame on that?
Yes, so Jonesboro Road, I think it'll be sometime towards the end of July. We plan to do, on the Nottoway side, I know for a fact because I sent the email last week.
Right.
When the crew is done with Crystal Lake Road, they're gonna jump to Jonesboro.
Okay.
They'll lay some asphalt down, do some heavy patching, beef up some shoulders, and then surface street over to the entire road.
Okay, yeah.
I'll
'cause
check with my counterpart in Brunswick and see if they have anything planned on their side as well.
Okay. The other thing I want to ask you, this is the one way off in the weeds, but sometimes you ask and you get lucky. 460-360 corridor, is there anything from VDOT or the state side where we could potentially get, what's the word I'm looking to push revenue down that way. You know, is there anything we can do through VDOT to entice travel there that can entice the traffic picking up through that area to potentially increase some land development around there? I mean, that's a big corridor that's just been remained undeveloped forever. And it's a perfect place, I think, that we should consider doing that. So I guess what I'm saying here, I'll wrap this up. Help, is there anything we can do? Or anything y'all can throw at us?
I'll explore some options.
Okay.
I haven't heard of us explicitly working, to boost economic development. However, we do support it.
Right.
And any time we have a potential for business development, it's something that we're always a part of and supporting through that process with the county, be it a zoning change or a new entrance, a commercial entrance, private entrance.
Okay.
We do all of those reviews. Also, possibly from local businesses, the businesses that are already there, we could do maybe a beautification or a gateway project as well that kind of serves to advertise for the existing businesses in the area.
Okay.
So if you go to some independent cities, like Lynchburg has a big beautification, the highways around there, they've got the signs advertising, and the businesses sponsor the sign in an area of that roadway and pay for the annual, mulching and flowers and beautification of that area.
Gotcha.
It serves as it helps the citizens. It's a nice manicured looking thing, and it serves as great advertisement for the existing businesses in the area as well.
Would you be able to help us when we finish our animal shelter? I mean, with a sign, where it's going to be located and so forth, right off of that corridor.
Yes, that's likely something we could do. Work through our. So we've got, it's called the Integrated Directional Sign Program. Businesses, things of that nature, they do all the directional signs. So once it is constructed, we can definitely explore the possibility of putting a sign in for it.
Appreciate that.
And the only other thing, the R-cut, what exactly is that? I mean, that sounds like something I would have went to the barber and got him to do to me.
So the R-cut is an acronym for Restricted Crossing U-Turn. And so it restricts, really basically, in any four-way intersection, the most dangerous movement is the left-hand turn, because you're unprotected crossing. In that case, on 723, you're crossing 4 lanes of live traffic, left hand, because you're sitting on the left side of the vehicle. It's harder to see that coming traffic in the westbound.
Right.
So what it does, when it's finalized, the traffic that is coming north on 723 that wishes to cross or go west to Burkeville, they will have to turn right and travel east on 460. And so there's a new crossover that was constructed right there further east, basically in front of the geriatric hospital, their old entrance. We actually use that as a new crossover. So the northbound traffic on 723, say they're going to 360, they will have to turn right, and there'll be a new inside turn lane. They will merge to that, then do a U-turn through the new crossover, and then be able to turn right. It takes that left-hand turn movement out of the intersection.
And there's 2 reasons why I asked that. It's, because a lot of people still thinking, y'all may have heard this too, they think it's a roundabout going there. It's not a roundabout going there
But
at
the
all.
general public don't know the difference in it.
Well,
They can see the 2 concretes fall apart, so how could it be a roundabout?
Right.
But they just,
And the other part of
They
that,
ain't thinking.
you just hit it. A lot of people travel through there and become subject matter experts because they see a cone and say, this ought to be like this ought to be like that. And that's why we're getting all those phone calls.
Mr. Bowen may be able to supply for you. I'm not sure if it's when you were out. We got a link to a video that shows how
Yeah.
the R-cut works.
Yeah,
and we've seen them across the country.
that's right. Yeah.
They are like the roundabouts. I remember the first time I saw one of them. I said, what? It looked like England is the one started that. England is where it came from.
Mr. French, we appreciate your report.
Absolutely.
Anybody else have any questions for Mr. French?
No, I'm good.
I'll be sure to share that link on the R-cut.
Okay.
Yes.
I shouldn't have made the comment, Mr. Chairman, about the general public. I didn't mean it as in the general public. There's a few in the public that do not pay attention to their surroundings, and they're the ones that call us up and say, y'all putting a roundabout? I've had 2 of them do that. I said, no, the concrete is several hundred yards apart. There's no two roundabouts going.
Well, they didn't hear it from us, they heard it from the true subject matter.
That's
expert.
exactly right.
Exactly what that was, so that was the reason why.
And
I
to
was
address the speed
All right,
issue
we're
up
gonna-
there, Mr. Chairman, I would
we're
like to say
gonna
this.
move
Mr. Chairman, I would like to say this. Daphne, you said about the speed, 55. I think the reason it's not reduced, and you can confirm this, is because they're not actually working on the highway there in the medium strip, pouring that concrete.
Yes, and so to drop the legal speed limit in a work zone, it is no different typically than dropping the speed limit on any other roadway permanently. You've got to go through a speed study, there's got to be resolution, and it's got to go all the way up to high levels of approval for basically what we consider a temporary change.
Gotcha.
That'll be
I will,
finished before that
however,
gets done.
talk to VSP about maybe getting some enforcement out there.
All right.
All right.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you,
French.
sir.
Thank you,
Good
bud.
evening.
All right, next we got solid waste. Mr. Easter's not here. Did you have anything, Mr. Bowen?
No, sir.
I think you've been working on some equipment out there.
Yeah, but anyway, it's good weather for no leachate.
That's good.
Anyway,
Mr.
we need
Chair-
rain though too, but.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, real quick, correct me if I'm wrong, the life expectancy of this landfill is 2035, correct? I think that's what we had been given before, Mr. Bowen?
Yeah, give or take, yes.
Okay. And the budget that we had got for this year, I believe it was 775, was the landfill closure in that budget? In other words, because basically, the cost for the closure is added to each year. So in that 775, is that?
Well, you've got your closure money already set aside for what's existing.
Yeah, but like
You have
each
to add,
year,
you have to add to it if you open another cell.
right,
So the current cells are covered by what's in reserve.
okay, but what I'm saying is, as the landfill each year now, it's added to it. It's added to, the cost of living is added to. So what I was wondering,
Is
that's
there anything going in reserve as,
added to it.
On the TRC report, it said it could go up to 9.1 million. So on my report tonight, I'm going to ask you guys, this board and ladies, to do a resolution to set aside $8.2 million for the landfill. That way, when we get audited this next year, that doesn't make people think we got $16 million. We do not have $16 million. We have 8.2 off to the side for that landfill.
I saw that in the paper now, people don't understand.
so to answer Mr. Orr's question, there will be some funds that are,
Yeah, there's gonna be funds, I'm gonna ask for tonight. Now, what he's asking, but is it more planned, in this budget? No, it was only 8.2 that we're planning to do for 2035. But it does say on the TRC, and I was looking at too, Mr. Rourke, and if you look at the TRC report on page 10, it said it could go up to 9.1.
Okay, because in the other information I'd like to get with that, Mr. Bowen, if we could, where, the number in 2020, where we at basically in 2020, and now it's basically 8.2 with a projection going to 9.1. So just kind of a starting point for me would be like 2020, what we were at in 2020. I mean, I know that's information we probably got to dig back to and find. That's fine, I didn't expect to have that now. But I was just wondering if there was any added to the closure this year, and was that included in 775? But if there was none added to it, then the 775 is accurate.
Right, actually, the report says too, on page 11, if you close the landfill today, it'd probably be 6.5 million if you decide to close the land. But the problem is you still got a licensed landfill, and then we have not even looked at the cost of what it is annually after that.
Right.
You still have to deal with leachate, and then I think you gotta do some kind of monitoring, which
That's
I
right.
think they threw out a number, 200-some thousand. Because I asked the question, right, to landfill, I don't know if y'all remember or not, once you're in the landfill business, you're always in the landfill business for the next 50 years, is the way it sounds like. Anyway.
I did have a question about, 200 laptops went into our landfill. Do you have any idea about that?
That would probably
May
be
1st?
that'd probably be a
Was that the-
school
was
thing,
that
I
the
don't know.
school?
We don't have 200 laptops.
No, it wasn't the school.
You recycled yours?
Not unless somebody took a shortcut, right?
We can probably figure that out later.
Yeah.
I'll try to find out.
All right, Nicholas Bowles, building inspection. Did you have anything, Mr. Bowles? Okay.
I'll let you know about that deal.
No.
Good evening. How are you this evening?
Good evening.
Nice to see you. Chairman, Mr. Bowen, County Administrator
Evening,
Bowen,
Mr.
and
Bowen.
the board. I think my focus here was to ask for a public hearing for raising the permit fees. But before I got to the reason for that recommendation, I just had a couple of quick updates. This week, I was able to attend a study group at the Virginia Housing Office. It was formed to discuss ways of addressing legislation as it was relating to the code development cycle. So one of the topics that was proposed was expediting permits and certificate occupancy issuance. The matter was brought forward by Delegate Paul Mild, and he was in attendance, and there was really good discussion on that, trying to come up with ways to address those concerns by our legislator. I had a chance to be on a NACO Zoom call. It was about the ADA requirements for websites, among other things. When they were asking for who was on from Virginia, Loudoun County beat me to the punch, so they kind of edged us out. I tried to get Nottoway represented on that call. An update about the staff. Melissa will be meeting with the permit technicians of Central Virginia Group that was just recently started next month. And Travis Luter, the Secretary of the State Building Code Technical Review Board, will be presenting the topic of the appeals process. This is a time that I'd like to remind everyone that if there's ever a decision that comes from the building official that does not match your interpretation of the building code, you are allowed to appeal that decision, and we welcome any criticism, constructive or otherwise. That's how we get better. I'd also like to add that I have recently been awarded the title of Code Enforcement Administrator by the American Association of Code Enforcement and the International Code Council, and I was also formally certified as a property maintenance official by DHCD. Those were two things that I was pretty proud to do, just to try to show that we are working and striving to do better. When reviewing the budget, to get to the point, it was discovered that the permit technician was under the administration's budget, and it seems that if we were to be accurate in how we fund the position, it should be moved to the building and inspection department, as will be discussed later, if I'm not mistaken. The idea was that if we are allowed per state code to defray the cost of operation, the collection of fees would pay for that position, and it would be raised by those who were providing the service for. I know that you know this from the work session, but more just for the general public. Melissa and I make up the whole department, and though we have a number of other duties, our primary function is the administration and enforcement of the building code. We've kept the fees to a similar level of the surrounding counties, more than others in some areas and also less than others. We're also adding a fee for work that begins without a permit. All the proposed changes are expected to pay for the additional position. That's the expectation. The increase to the fees would not be the only proposed change. We also intend to go away from a universal permit to an individual permit for each trade, and the point of this is to ensure that we're more intentional about verifying licensure. There's a requirement in Title 54.1, Chapter 11 that states, "It shall be unlawful for the building official or other authority to issue or allow the issuance of such permits unless the applicant has furnished his license or certificate number issued pursuant to this chapter or evidence of being exempt from the provisions of this chapter. The building official or any such authority violating the terms of this section shall be guilty of a Class 3 misdemeanor." And so it's our intention not to violate the state code, and that's why we're going to be looking at this a little bit more closely. Finally, all of this is going to be easier to track as we are currently working with IGIS to provide a new permit software as an add-on feature to the current GIS system. The long-term goal is to have a front-facing software that will allow the customer to submit their applications and construction documents. In the near future, though, we will have a more streamlined process on scheduling and inspection. It'll be easier to just call me to schedule an inspection versus going through the office and submitting inspection results at the time of the inspection. We're also working to improve our reporting and intend to make a read-only account for all of the board members and the county administrator, so you can kind of look over our shoulder during the inspection and the permitting process, just for some transparency. And I hope to bring more news on this in the near future. I'd like to remind everyone that the fire in Chaco Bottom was a good reminder that disasters can strike anywhere. And thank God it was not worse, but please pray for those that were impacted. And Buddy Hyde and I will be working together to bring a proposal for the adoption of the Virginia Statewide Fire Prevention Code. Two of the towns have already adopted the code in the past and could update their ordinances to participate with the county in this endeavor. The remaining town has a reserved section for the Fire Prevention Code. And I spoke with Billy Hucks, the Virginia State Fire Marshal, on Tuesday during that study group meeting, and it was his recommendation that we adopt the code. That might be a little bit self-serving on their part. But the local approach could bring better awareness to potential hazards before they become a call to emergency services. That's just my opinion. And thank you, and God guide you in your work that you're doing. My wife and children and I are thankful and honored that we continue to serve Nottoway.
Nick, what is a marriage line? A marriage line?
Would you be referring to the?
Looked like
union
one
between-
inspection that you done for a marriage line.
Yeah, it's the union between a double wide.
The union between the double wide?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. I've often wondered that when I've seen them on here.
That's right.
Thank you.
And Nick, I have a question. We got a final total of 170 inspections, and it looks like there's a 40% fail rate because 68 of them failed. Could you expand on that for transparency for the general public?
Sure. So during the permitting, or during the inspection process, a fail is a word that nobody likes to hear. But the idea is that the way to communicate that traditionally has been to just say pass or fail. In another locality that I worked, we did things like partial approval. That's a little bit more difficult to track with our current software. Maybe that's something we can do to say that, you know, the work up to this point is approved except this. But just the way that we're currently set up, it's either pass, fail, or reschedule. So right now, the verbiage is just that if you do not meet the requirements of the building code, my inspection report will state what is in violation of the building code. And that actually it's a ticket. Something that fails the building code is actually, you know, considered a Class 1 misdemeanor. It's the easiest misdemeanor to get out of, so that's cool. But really,
So then they reapply and fix the problem and get you to look at it again?
that's it, yeah.
Okay.
So it's as simple as that. A lot of times, if the contractor's not there, we have to report it to them this way or the homeowner. But if they're there, you know, a lot of times they can fix it right there on the site. And so some of that would just be coordinating with folks that if they would like to not get a failed ticket, maybe we can just coordinate better about being there when they're there.
I just wanted to address it because I wanted people to know, you said the key word, building code. And you are following the building code. And we, I think, got complacent over the years, and you're following the code, and that's what you're supposed to do, and I appreciate it.
All right, Mr. Bowles, so you've presented this fee schedule to us. This is going to require a public hearing. Be next month. Is everybody in consensus that we would go ahead and have a public hearing?
The only thing I didn't see or hear, and I may have missed it, is the expected revenue that's here, the expectation of that to grow. I mean, do you think that each year this revenue could be where it states now, or do you expect it to be a 10% increase, 15% increase?
It probably depends on the economy and the activity.
Right, I get that, but I didn't know, as looking forward, anything that had been back towards trending now.
I think I remember seeing some numbers at the work session on that, didn't
Yes, sir, and I can.
I don't think it was his
Anniversary.
wedding anniversary, marriage anniversary.
That's right.
Maybe you can get him them and let him look at them before we have the public hearing.
I can definitely
Would you do that?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Nick.
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that.
Okay, because the other thing was, you know, seeing that this, you know, if this alone can carry the position that you're talking about.
So we're expecting it to be able to. It's just hard to predict what the future holds, just,
Right.
you know, with the state of the economy.
But there was some projection in those numbers that you're gonna give him.
That's right. So
Yeah.
the numbers
I
that
don't-
we were able to come up with,
I don't see a fee on here for advertising for start without a permit. Do you have that on this sheet? Because we have to Gotta make sure the advertisement's correct, so if you
Okay.
could just make
Yeah,
sure.
if that's not on there, I'll
I
make
don't-
sure that that's.
I don't see it, I may be missing it, but.
Okay.
Yeah, we can have that added before the public hearing.
Nick, you said it pretty quick, just make sure, I want to make a point of clarification. There's a program that you can utilize that you think would be more customer friendly, for saying partial, am I understanding that right? Better than what we have? What other counties have that program right now?
So I was almost 4 years an inspector at Henrico County. And on the electronic software that we used, we had a okay or fail or partial okay. And we were looking at a way of possibly adding that to the tickets when we print them off.
Right.
But the new software, we might be able to do that. I'll talk to IGS about that.
Okay. I think it'd be worth trying out. I'm a person who's probably failed a lot in school, and when a teacher gave me a partially fail, felt like I did pretty good.
Sure.
It's the way you look at it.
You wanna be customer friendly and.
Yeah.
That's right. Keep things moving.
That's right.
We got you. All right, everybody agree for the.
Yes,
wanna
sir.
Send public hearing?
Yeah.
Everybody?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Bowles.
Oh, wait a minute. We just took a whole thing. We need a motion. Go ahead and do that.
You wanna make a motion?
And just to consider for advertising public hearing in July, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Okay.
I move to do that.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
No opposed? Okay.
I think it's gonna be a lot of public hearings you're gonna hear in July, right? We're gonna talk about it in a few minutes. All right.
A lot of them. Animal control, Sheila Estes.
No report. She got it in there.
I did speak with Mike, who's kind of a liaison between us and CARES, and there was kind of a work slowdown after removal of that old septic tank, but it looks like they're back working.
Yeah, they're framing up.
They were framing this week.
Went by that today, took a look at it.
Piedmont Health District, Maria Aldman.
Nothing.
Nottoway County Public Library,
Just a moment.
Nottoway County School Board. See the report. Dr. Martin, come on up. Thank you for coming.
And next month, we will be putting Dr. Martin's name on the agenda. I think July,
1.
you're right, it was the actual date. You okay with that?
I don't think I have a choice,
You
right?
got no choice.
You retype it.
Though I will not be here at next month's meeting.
Oh,
I
okay.
actually will be on vacation. It was already planned, so, but I'm sure
No,
Heather
I think
will
that's
be here,
okay.
Mr. Abbott or Mr. Rowe, so. Just a couple of things this evening. It is an exciting time of year for the school division. It's always an exciting time of year in the school division, but it's probably our busiest time as we gear up for another school year. We're one of the only groups that get to say we have a fresh start every year. New group of kids, it's just a fresh start all over. So one of the things that you'll see moving forward is kind of our slogan and our goal is that we are Nottoway and we're committed to excellence. As we move forward, we really want to take pride in our school division. We want the community to take pride in our school division, our students and our staff. So you will see that across a lot of different things, that we are Nottoway and that we really do want that pride in the school division. I have to say that we truly have an amazing group of educators, families, students, and a community that support us. And our goal, like I said, was to create that pride and move towards excellence in all areas of the school division in the coming years. We have a joint safety training coming up on Monday, July 7th. I know Buddy and I have been in communication, so we have local law enforcement there, emergency management systems from localities, and what it really is designed to do. A couple of years back, we had maps made of our school, and he runs scenarios with us. We don't ever want to be in that situation in our schools, but we do want to be prepared and make sure that we have this conversation as to who's doing what we need to do, when we need to do it, and things like that. So that's going to be held at our complex at the high school on July 7th. I also encourage you to come join us for convocation on August the 15th. It's a Friday this year and not a Monday. We're doing things a little bit differently, so it'll be on a Friday, midday. I will have Charlotte send to you, Mr. Bowen, some more information so that you can forward it to the board. And then I look forward to our partnership and our collaboration together as we move forward into the new year, working together to build that we are Nottoway, to build that pride in our school system, and to move our students forward. Like I said, we have amazing staff. I encourage you to come visit our schools. come sit in a classroom, have conversations with people, and you can see the amazing job that they do each day, so.
Plus, that would give Steve a chance to focus on lessons instead of goofing off.
Yeah, right, good enough, that's right.
And there's no cell phone, so don't bring it
No
with
cell
you.
phone.
I've sat in enough classrooms.
Yeah, you got it.
And that's it, just a quick update.
Okay. I would
Thank you,
pursue,
Ms.
I
Barr.
would pursue another joint meeting in January,
Okay.
February.
And
That's been very good for us.
Dr. Martin, when you get back from vacation, I would like to entertain maybe a meeting with the treasurer, myself, and maybe the finance committee.
Yes,
You know,
and
yeah,
Heather
and
and I
Heather,
talked
yeah.
about that as well. I can tell you my first week is jam-packed
I understand,
with
I understand.
meetings, and
Right.
then I'm gone, and then I will be back. But yes, that's on my list to schedule meetings out.
Yeah,
so that
I
we
want,
can
hopefully,
have that.
hopefully we get it before the school year starts. I know you're
Yes.
gonna really be tied up and stuff on that. Okay, all right, just keep that in the back of your head.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Social Services, Shannon Reed.
She was on the steps, she was actually at the meeting involved. I was doing virtual, so she's not coming.
Okay. Planning and Economic Development, Greg Zodi. Welcome, Mr. Zodi.
Thank you, Chair.
Hey, hey.
Good evening, Board. I'll entertain any questions, but Mr. Bowen had spoken about our agenda being robust next month. Just from planning and zoning, we'll have 6 items on the agenda, 2 special exceptions for manufactured homes, 1 rezoning in adjacent to Burkeville, and then 4 text amendments, definition and use table for data centers for government services, and removing duplexes from the agricultural district completely. So, and then there's one more and I forgot it, so sorry, and I'm getting ready to,
What, did you send that advertisement to the newspaper?
that goes in tomorrow, sir.
It's in there this week.
It is.
I know it, but I do have an email where I told them to retract it, and I have the email right here.
It was published, it was in there.
So we're not gonna get charged twice then?
No, we better not. I mean, no, I'm serious, it's just, here.
So you sent it, and they thought it was for this week, but it was not.
No, and I
Well,
specifically said.
I'll take your word for it.
Okay, thank you. It's
But
good to
they-
hear in my field.
But I just didn't, yeah, I just don't want to have you charged,
Oh,
you know,
no,
charged
no
twice.
kidding. And along those lines, we are implementing the policy that was recommended by some of the board members about our public notices to adjacent property owners for publicly advertised cases. And we're sending them certified. That's about 288 or so, I
You really,
believe.
you really don't have a choice. with
No,
the-
we really
with
don't,
our-
and I
mean,
think
the
it
mail's
just
going
covers
away
us,
to-
and
the
so
mail's
we
going
don't
away to
have it
Sandston and then
happen
coming
with
back.
other folks. But
You can do it as a landlord too, you can go hand deliver it to them.
right, and that, I believe the state might have some language regarding that if that doesn't happen. But I want to explain that there's a difference between certified mail and then registered certified mail. Registered certified mail costs about $4.98, almost $5. Let's just say $5 per piece. So if I have a 40 adjacent property notification list I have to send out, 40 times 5.
I think it's $7 and some change, to be exact.
And it's.
You're talking about for a signature return
Yes,
that they,
sir.
that they accepted. It
Was
was
the-
$7.88. I mailed 11 of them recently. I know what it
Does
was.
the applicant pay for those?
No, we
No.
include those in our fees, that's why I
But we have
checked
to
the
cover
fees
it out
up.
of our fees?
Yes, sir. I would hope so, and I am getting,
Check the math on that.
I will, and, because I just want to let you all know, depending on how large the cases are, but I will notify you. Another thing I wanted to point out to you all was that, two things left. One thing was, I've been recently receiving unsolicited calls from battery storage developers. I'm not going to get into any names or anything like that, but I want you all to be aware that people are looking at our county for battery storage, and they're going to have to apply through the special exception process and be heard in adjacent property notification and whatnot. But I would like to get with Ms. Douglas and perhaps review our siding agreement that was approved by the board. I believe that was in December of 2024, because I want us to make sure, and I think we're on good ground, but that we can charge them siding agreement, work out a siding agreement for battery storage. Lastly, and very last thing, I do want to let you all know that I did reach out to Lauren Pugh at CRC regarding the High Trail Bridge project. And she gave me a contact person, Daniel Jordan, who's the state park ranger, area ranger, manager for DCL, well, for the state park. And just reaching out saying, what can we do to help you all? How can we assist?
And I'm glad you did that, because if we could make a nice beginning to the trail,
Oh, we could do so much,
then,
sir.
then people will come to Burkeville and park and perhaps shop, perhaps buy gas.
And
then go ahead and enjoy the trail.
I think from an economic development perspective and a planning perspective, that's what planners have always encouraged, is having these trails. And it also brings a boon. People use these trails a lot.
That would go good in that 360, 460 corridor.
Yeah, that adds up to it.
But I'm really excited about that, and I went ahead and looked at some of the.
The first thing is we need to get some mapping so we can see what private land is along that. And,
It's all railroad land.
no, I'm talking about where you could put a parking lot.
The problem is gonna be with the Norfolk Southern Railroad.
I was hoping, I was.
Active line?
They're not gonna let you put it close to that active
Too
line.
dangerous.
Right, well, that's why we need a map, so we can see.
I was gonna see if,
Talk to some landowners.
where we
talk
can
to some
begin it.
landowners, Yeah.
well, I was gonna say also let Daniel Jordan come here and give us a presentation and tell us what kind of log jams is he hitting in? Is he hitting anything with, legislation? When we talked to Delegate Ware, we brought that up Delegate Ware when we met with him.
Well, that's why it's been started again. It was actually forgotten about.
Right.
They had moved and taken it to Georgia, to Atlanta, and nobody had remembered that this
Well,
existed.
see,
That's what-
we
that's
So
were
what
represented by Mr. Wright at that
Delegate
time.
Ware got it,
Delegate Ware
found it and
came
said,
out.
you guys never finished.
Right, right.
So, and that's the
think
railroad,
we-
their main office is in Atlanta, isn't it?
Yeah, they moved it from Norfolk to Atlanta.
We need to make sure we engage the mayor of Burkeville, Ms. Gerald Smith, and their folks too,
Yes.
in
I
this
talked to him the
conversation.
other day.
Is he aware? Well, they had a meeting. They announced it at their meeting, didn't they? Okay, so they're aware.
Right.
So I'd get with Mr. Smith also,
Okay.
okay?
And I usually speak, I'll reach out to Mr. Smith, but I deal with Greg Wolvern a
Well,
lot
that's,
as well.
as long as you're.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I'll reach out to them to see, how I can contribute as a planner and
It's,
stuff.
a
with
nice
them.
parking area, restrooms, that's,
Okay. And I believe. All right, that's all I have for right now until another item.
and I do know a horse person, and the parking lot that is currently available to horse trailers on, I guess, somewhere along the trail, I'm not sure if it's at the other end, only holds 2 or 3 trailers, and it's difficult to get in and out of. I won't mention who the horse.
Prospect has got a really good parking area they just put in.
Yeah.
They got one in over at Lake Cross that's been put in about 4 years ago. Maybe go over and take a look at them and get some ideas too.
Where's that?
La Crosse
Okay.
And
and Prospect.
So just what we're looking for is a nice facility for people to come to Burkeville, get started on that trail.
Yeah, and hopefully-
Prospect donated some land. I think Burkeville may have some land they want to donate.
I think it'd be a boon for people who want to expand their home-based business, or, with food trucks and
Yeah.
things like that. I mean,
On a Saturday morning, you
those
could
things
certainly come up there
happen
with breakfast.
With these types of projects. Saw it in Bloomington, Indiana. So I will look into this, and I
right.
will look at mapping the corridor as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
Mr. Hyde, Emergency Services, you want to update us on the fire behind Walmart
Yes, sir.
20
Mr.
minutes
Chair.
ago?
Mr. Chair, members of the board, Mr. Bowen,
Hey.
staff, citizens, good evening. You want that update first? Yeah, we had, I think it was 8 containers. They had the corrugated cardboard in those. They were in those dumpsters. If you've ever been behind the mall area, behind Pizza Hut and Walmart. They weren't right up against the building from what I understand. I was preparing for the meeting, but I was listening to it. They had
I think they were up against the woods, weren't they?
It was heading into the wood line. That's what and Walter McOsborne was incident command. So he was really informative on the radio. So they had mentioned it going to the wood line. They arrived, put the tower up, tower truck in action. Put a deck gun I hear on the radio. I would imagine coming off of that, maybe off an engine, and they knocked it down quickly, just within a matter of minutes. And it was more overhaul from what I understand from Incident Command Osborne. He said about an hour of overhaul, which is, as you well know, overhaul in our business is not like a motor. It's taking care of all of the hidden embers and things like
The
that.
heat out of that cardboard, so it was a stack of cardboard back there.
It was cardboard.
Don't know
It was no gaseous.
We don't know the ignition, but.
Was it combustion probably from the heat?
We
That's
don't.
what first would come
we
to mind
don't
to me.
know. I'll find out from Blackstone. Blackstone was first in. But they went ahead and did a good job of, going ahead and calling out all of our companies because it was right near Walmart. So I think they gave it a structural response, which I thought was good. I thought that was
And
really good.
their renovations are complete. Their grand opening's tomorrow. So
Correct.
just so everybody's aware of that.
And they had a LP gas tank 400, I think it was 400 feet away. So they did a good job of notifying all the units coming in. But that wasn't threatened. So we called it threatening. I don't think it threatened the building. I don't think it threatened the LP tanks. So good job by all firefighters. All towns were there, and Nottoway Emergency Squad was staging, from what I understand, at Chubby's, right in front.
Right at the gas station.
So they had the units setting up there ready in case they would need it. And I think they did set up a rehab area because firefighters, you know how hot it is. So everybody was in
turnout on, yeah.
Everybody was in turnout gear and very hot, very hot. This week,
go ahead, yeah.
speaking of that, we had all the fire departments this week inform me that they had coolers ready with Gatorade and water and all of that. We always do that during a heat wave, so that was done early in the week and kept on ice. Just rolling into the report real quick you have in front of you. Just key points, mass casualty exercise at Fast C went really well. Starting off the month, we had a planning meeting. Towards the end of the month, we actually had the drill itself. Well, actually toward the middle of the month. Fast C was phenomenal. They just did an after action with us this week. So all of those agencies mentioned in your report were there, including Life Evac flew in for a part of it. This was the third mass casualty exercise that we've had this year. So we've started off this year with multiple agencies. I want to give credit to all of the ones that have been out there. One was Fast C, one was Nottoway High School, and of course the other one was at the airstrip with Fort Barfoot and the airfield ops personnel. So we've had 2 helicopters out of the group, and then we active shooter drill. They've all went well, and we keep improving on those, what I'm noticing. That's what it's all about. You keep doing it, and you keep improving. We worked with Burkeville, the town clerk Burkeville, Jamie Osborne, to have her trained in Code Red. So she is now one of our new Code Red launchers. We try to do 3 per town. We have Jennifer Daniels as our main one in Blackstone. We have Tiffany Sisk in Crew, and now we have Jamie Osborne. So the 3 clerks are Code Red launchers for their messages, as well as letting me know when a county message needs to go out. So we do 3, 3, and 3, and then we have 3 for the county, a total of 12 launchers. And we have that on a mobile app now, so we can send out any kind of Code Red with the mobile app. The first meeting of our restructured, and I don't want to steal the thunder from Mr. Toth or Mr. Rourke, so I'll let you guys talk about it, but we had our first meeting of the new executive board at the Nottoway Emergency Squad. I'm sure you're going to cover that at some point. But we had that meeting, and I was participating with them. Then moving on quickly, again, we did the after-action review at Fast C. It went well, and they want to do more with us, and they said to pass on to you. They would like to do more. If you want tours of Fast C, see some of the new leadership, some of the new building enhancements, to please let us know. We had a virtual meeting with Rapid SOS. Now, what is Rapid SOS? That's part of our dispatch system. And when we talked to them this week, we found out that we already have the foundation to do this new AI enhancement to the dispatch. So Kerry Wilson, dispatch supervisor, and myself jumped on this call, and we found out that these non-emergent calls, like if someone calls for 911 and they want to know where the livestock yard is, this is a non-emergent call, so AI takes over, moves it away from the real person, allows them to answer the call and tell them where the livestock yard is or where the event is. Say Burkeville Days is going on and somebody dialed 911 for that. You'd be surprised what people call 911 for. But this takes it and moves it over. Folks, this is the future. So I'm letting you know now we already have the foundation. There'll probably be some extra money to buy it, but I don't know, and I'm getting quotes. But we have the foundational piece of software that allows us. And also there's another package that allows a robotic voice to give the call. And the cities are using this now. And what this does is it has a monotone voice.
So should we be moving forward with that $7+ million deal? Or should we wait for AI to do it?
No, this is totally different. Totally different. Radio system's different.
This is like the
this
national
is on the call
weather.
taking.
It sounds like the national weather.
That's right. This is on the call taking side. But it
Preemptive question.
But it does mesh very well with our $6.4 million system. So the facilitated, we did that, and everything was good on that call. I think we enjoyed it. And last but not least on this, we went down to Blackstone Fire. Chief Zach Bayers had 3 thermal imaging companies drop off the thermal imaging cameras, and we tried them out on a Saturday. And we had a good turnout for that and very good training. Fireworks show, if you're interested, July 1 in Crewe at Municipal Airport, and July 2 at the Blackstone Army Airfield. We've been involved in this every week now. We plan every Wednesday. It's kind of like Livestock Day, Mr. Toth.
We're closed next week.
We've been going to airfield
For that
every
reason.
Wednesday.
We're closed.
So I share your Wednesday busyness there, but we've been going well over all of the planning. It's been Chris Page with Chamber of Commerce has been leading this, and so we've been working on resources. The gates will open in about mid-afternoon. If you bring your family over there, fireworks shows around 9, I think, at both events. Solar information has been gathered. Mr. Ingram talked to me a little bit about solar response to farms that may be established. I've been to some of those. I've also pulled some data. I have a lot of handouts. We are going to talk to our guidelines committee for fire and EMS. We have an SOG committee. We're going to look at writing a standard operating guideline for responding to not only solar panels, but to battery farms if they ever are any. So I've been to classes on those, and what we're going to do is sit down with the committee, and we'll write something that's standard so everybody's doing it the same way.
I know some of the localities are just, you keep it in the fence and don't.
Right.
You just contain it.
Correct.
Yep.
And what Dominion Energy and a lot of the others have recommended in the classes that I've attended is to, it sounds tough, but, let it burn in some cases, but we'll have to look at each panel. But really it's metal, plastic, and a few other things. So car fires can be a lot more toxic, and we've been fighting those for years. Car fires are very toxic when you look at the upholstery, all the acid under the hood, the wiring, the insulation.
Aluminum rims you can't hardly extinguish?
Magnesium.
Yeah, magnesium.
But they're very toxic in the smoke. So car fires are pretty nasty, truck fires.
Well, thank you for being proactive on that.
Yes, sir. And also, Jimmy and I were able to go out this week and assist Department of Social Services with installing a window unit for a lady on Blacks Lane. And I also gave 3 other addresses this week to people that either don't have power, don't have AC or whatever, and we gave it to Shannon Reed. So we've all been working this as a team this week to find out, who the elderly are, and Shannon's been phenomenal with that. The cooling centers have been going well. That's a team effort. Jackie Zadowaski and also Shannon have been really good about the libraries. Brian Welch, Chief Welch, has had his station open as a 4th location. So this week we've had 4 locations. And then today we taught CPR to various county employees. And tomorrow we're going to do the same. And we had a class on Tuesday. We're teaching first aid and CPR to county employees. And we're just doing a few at a time. I think today we had 7, and most of them were building and grounds and social services. And then last but not least, you have a general consent letter for action tonight. And this is the one that I give you each year to where we release the 4 for Life funding from the Office of EMS in Richmond. It's a general consent letter, just the normal process. You see the allocation is going to the 4 EMS agencies in the county. And just so the public knows, we do have 4 licensed EMS agencies, all 3 fire departments, and Nottoway Emergency. 2 are transport, being Burkeville and Nottoway, and the other 2 are non-transport, first responder. So your motion is at the bottom, your suggested motion, and Mr. Chair, I'll yield back to you for action, sir.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the consent request as presented for the authorization to distribute the Virginia Department of Health Office of Emergency Services 4 for Life funding received by the county on June 17, 2025 to the 4 state licensed EMS agencies in Nottoway County.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay.
Mr. Hyde, any questions for Mr. Hyde from anyone?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Hyde.
Thank you, buddy.
Next one's me, Piedmont Regional Jail Authority. We did not have a meeting this month. We passed the budget last month, and then we had some vacations and things for staff, so they just went ahead and moved the next one to July. We did have some emails that I've been involved in. I copied Mr. Bowen and some of them between Superintendent Townsend and Delegate Lee Ware. We're still short $100,000 because of VCBR residents being put in jail at Piedmont Regional Jail, and that becomes a problem of the citizens of Nottoway County. The money is already in the state budget to house and feed these folks. The money just gets stuck at VCBR, it doesn't move with it. The latest discussion, particularly with Superintendent Townsend, is the nature of the folks that leave VCBR and go to Piedmont Regional Jail. There's certain guidelines. They've got to be separated by voice and distance, or voice and vision from the other inmates. So management of the jail becomes more difficult based on space and how many you have and do they interact. So the consensus right now, Delegate Lee Ware's working on it, is they don't need to go to Piedmont Regional Jail. We've gotten an opinion from an attorney that they're already there. They can go to court and they can go back there. And then whatever the punishment is, they can make it, solitary there at VCBR. They don't need to interact with our other citizens that have made a mistake. They can stay where they are. So that's what we're working on.
That would help a lot.
It'll take out a lot of the guessing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mr. Bowen, we got Pickett Park.
Mr. Chairman, board members, the report's in your packet. I got something I got to really figure out what's wrong. I got a discrepancy in this report, and just kind of give you an idea. And I'm wondering this because what their titling it is. But if you go to the last page of the G12, it shows you that we're in the black, 135,000. But you have 8 different disciplines. You got LRA, Lodge, 443, 408, Officers Club, Small Business Incubator, Campground, Bowling Alley. Then you go to the Treasurer's Report on H3, and you go to the LRA Fund Report, and we are in the red, $12,699. But you only got 4 disciplines there. You got rent for the general property, which we don't even call that, Pickett Park, Pickett Officers Club, and Small Business Incubator. Something's wrong. That's too much of a discrepancy. I got to figure out what's happening. I got to get the people at the table. The way I called it was at the report, just like you looking at it, and I said something's not right. So,
Mr. Bowman, also, I know you weren't here, but a gentleman from the delegations from the public was bringing up some questions about some numbers being off in the reporting, like 11 million, 12 million, 13 million, 14 million. It was bouncing all over the place, and he was asking for some. It was Mr. Abbott.
Okay.
He was asking for some clarification on some of those. So I guess if we're digging on this,
the numbers need to be right. We're either in the red or we're in the black, and that's just too much of a window there. So hopefully I'll get this rectified. I may get to some of the Finance Committee with me on this too, and put some more brains at the table. But let me have conversations first. The first step is we need to be calling it the same thing, and that's the first step. But anyway, all right. That's the only report I have. A little disappointed in that, but anyway, what you have in front of you is what you have. So.
All right. Just touching real quick on that, Mr. Rourke. I know that some of the increase into the general fund was we had sold a house. Closed on some land.
Yep.
That was $350. Then we had some timber money. That may have been in the first. That might have been the month before.
Yeah, the June. If you look
there was some revenue that came from sale that increased the general fund. I don't know the exact dollars. Right. Some of it was that.
Yeah, FBC we closed that up too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, good.
Yeah, that's closed up.
Good.
All right, constitutional officers' reports and comments. Jane Brown.
And Mr. Chairman, let me say this too. I heard last year that a lot of people parked on county land at the fireworks, but FDC owns that property now, so somebody might want to call him and see if it's okay to park out there, buddy. You know what I mean? It just hit me just now. Okay, you did, because he owns that property. Anyway, sorry about that.
Yeah, that's fine. Sheriff Jones, did you have anything this evening?
I got a question for the sheriff.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman. Sheriff, what does resource officers do when their school not in?
Well, I will address it next month. I'll talk a little bit about it. Right now, we have a camp that's going on this week. They've been out there all week.
Helping with the camp?
Helping with the camp.
And how many resource officers are there in Nottoway?
5.
5 resource officers. All right. Another question, I'm not putting you on the spot, just for transparency to the citizen. Does a resource officer take when he feels in to do highway patrol, does he have a ticket book?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
He can write a ticket?
He can write a ticket, they can get warrants, they can do just like any other officer.
I was told that they do not have a ticket book. They cannot write a speeding ticket. They cannot write a trespassing ticket.
Fully outfitted officer.
But they can be sworn deputies, but if they don't have the stuff to write the ticket, it does no good.
That's true, but they have it all.
I was told by one of the deputies that he does not have it all. In fact, he has none. And I said, well, you don't need to be riding in that sheriff's car right there patrolling this area. I told him that recently. I'm not gonna call him out to you, because I'm not that kind of fellow. But if you got 5 of them, you'll be able to figure it out pretty easy.
I guess he's asking you, get them ready for the summertime.
Yeah, because if they fill in's even during school and you don't need them, and they can't write a ticket, then you might as well get that old car and park it up at that intersection and let the president say. They can write a ticket. Well, sometimes it's like any employee. It could be laziness.
I ain't gonna argue with that.
First thing a deputy like to say when he wanted to be lazy, that's a civil matter.
I don't have a ticket book.
You don't have a ticket book? That's right, I don't have a ticket book. Well, does your radio work? Can you call somebody? I'd like to see a state trooper say he ain't got no damn ticket book.
So get them ready for the summer.
Thank you, Sheriff. I guess what, it was two residents in my district that asked me those questions.
Right.
It wasn't me personally, but I do know the deputy that they was referring to.
Right.
And it come from good sources. But he is a fine deputy.
All right.
He wouldn't work for you if he wasn't.
That's
And I
true.
trust that. Thank you, sir.
Ms. Rayford, treasurer.
I don't see her.
Ms. Hudson, Commissioner of the Revenue, did you have anything for us?
She's like, finally.
I think something is in the package.
It's, I think it was a handout, though.
Do y'all have the,
Yes, ma'am.
oh, awesome.
Okay, so this is your, one of your handouts.
Yes.
Yep.
So do you want me to read it, or do you
Well,
have any questions?
the idea was, and we had talked about it before we passed the budget. Mr. Rourke brought it up the night of the budget, that he wanted to do a little, with the levies and all that, that he wanted to do some more for our first responders, but we didn't have dollar figures that
Right.
night. So we could all agree with it, but we couldn't do anything with it that night.
Correct.
So then we went to the work session where we got some dollar figures and had a good discussion about what we wanted to do. Of course, the budget's passed, but I think we left the work session to do one car 100%, and then both sides of the levy, if I recall.
For personal property and real estate?
Right, and we felt like, yes, personal property and real estate, so one car 100%, and then the levies on both personal property and real estate for our first responders that are listed by the chiefs as participating volunteers. And I don't know if I have that number written down here, those totals, I can probably add it up.
So what total are you looking for?
Got 83 active
Yes, there's 83 active.
and then 12 inactive.
Yes.
All right, I can do the number real quick.
Be 95.
But the idea was we can comb through the budget, see if we can locate some funds to go ahead and do that. And then we can look at it again next year.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But this is all 25's numbers.
So basically, it's around about 144,000 that we would lose as far as revenue.
So you're,
Correct, if you did,
We did all of
right,
it.
if you did all of it.
That's basically 2 salaries, 2 full-time salaries.
Yeah, that's a good one.
but that was for everything.
That is
wasn't
for everything, and that's not what we
That's
did.
probably more for next year,
Right,
since the budget's already been passed.
right.
Right.
So what we're looking at is,
And I did it the same way that we do veterans, so I only put in 1 acre and their primary house.
Right.
And that was it.
You put it, so if the taxes, if, say a person lives on 50 acres, and the tax assessment is $350,000, and the improvement is $250,000, how do you determine the 1 acre value?
It's 15,000,
Per acre?
1 acre.
1 acre is
One
15,000.
home site is
So
15,000.
No matter whether it's got road frontage, no matter.
so it's just a building site.
It's a home site. Now, if it's a single wide, it's 14,000.
What about a double wide?
15,000.
What about a tent? The,
So going back to the
15,000.
going back to the work session meeting, it was said that if a person had it sitting on a farm, that they would be exempt for the whole land that's on that
No,
survey.
that was an error because.
So now you're saying it's on 1 acre?
1 acre and their house.
1
And
acre
that-
and
and
it's
that takes care of some of the inequity between somebody that lives in town, somebody that lives on 300 acres as a
But what it
volunteer.
doesn't do is the requirement 5 acres out in the county to have a residence. You're telling them they gotta have 5 acres, but their only exemption is 1 acre.
It's the same exemption that our veterans get.
All the veterans get, so you have to have a starting point.
Right.
I just wonder what board pulled the 1 acre when they told the residents they gotta have a 5 acre lot. Why would they say 1 acre? I have to think about that.
Well, that's what the state decided on for the veterans, was
Oh.
1 acre.
Oh, the state decided that, so
Yes,
y'all
so
just
that's
took it.
why I went ahead with the 1 acre
Oh,
on
okay.
this. Now, obviously, you guys can choose to do more, but I went with what the veterans were getting as a
Well, it
starting
seems
point.
fair, but I was just wondering, 1 acre in some areas is worth a lot less than 1 acre in other. If it's got any road frontage to it, it's worth a lot more.
Right. The
Well,
town lots are a little different than the county lots,
Mm-hmm.
but it's still gonna,
We found at the work session that it was very difficult to make this fair.
That's
Because you have
exactly
some
right.
that don't own land,
that's true.
some that
That's
rent.
exactly right.
So we just do the best we can. So
Here's
the
the good-
number that I'm looking at,
And here's the good thing about this too.
where'd you get
This
that
is a
number?
fluid document too.
That's exactly right. We can change anything on that we want to. Yep.
We're doing real estate and,
No, I was just doing
66.
vehicles. I didn't do the real estate.
That's a different number. We're not gonna say a number tonight. Everybody understands what we're talking about.
Right.
One property, your property, 100%. Right now, they pay $1 per 100.
For
So
their
that's gonna
car.
go to 0.
Okay.
And then they are exempt from the levies,
All levies,
yes,
on real estate also
on
for
real
this year.
estate and their car.
Okay.
The nature of a volunteer, they're already spending their own money
Exactly,
to go protect people, to
exactly.
go protect their citizens. And so you're going to take money from them also, as well as their time.
Right.
And that's.
Do we have to take a vote on that, Mr. Chairman? No.
I don't think so. We have to get at the number, and then we
Well,
can, we can vote on it. But
yeah, I can put it on the agenda for unfinished business. Y'all can think about it, have conversations.
It's a work in progress
Yeah.
for a volunteer
But
incentive.
everybody wanted to do
Exactly.
more,
Right.
so this is something we can do this year,
Incentive.
because the budget's passed, can't put a big number in there.
Right.
So then next year, we can bring it forward again.
And stress too, it's not for paid, it's for
Volunteer
volunteers.
only.
And what we want to do, which to me, this is, and I talked to John about this, I think, if we could get to where somebody that was willing to volunteer for this squad, let's say it's somebody that's retiring from Henrico, from a fire station up there. And if they found out that in Nottoway County, they could come down here and volunteer and not have to pay real estate tax, as long as they were an active volunteer.
With their certification.
With their bring your certifications to Nottoway County. That would be, that increases your volunteer base,
Absolutely,
brings in folks that, that we'd love to have in our county.
right.
So that's just some goals.
That's right.
And the other thing I was gonna ask you about this, do we need to adopt an ordinance or change the ordinance for us to be able to do this?
I would,
Probably a policy, is it ordinance?
I would think so.
Tax abatement. Tax abatement for our
From the
volunteers.
from the levies and.
Increase our tax abatement. We already have it.
I would have to review what's already in the state code. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we've talked about this. There is a provision in the state code already, but it might need to be amended.
there is one in there now.
Yeah.
And we can actually do the one vehicle, that's not a problem. I just don't know if we need the ordinance for that. I'm
I would just
assuming
have-
we would.
Okay.
Yeah, I would just have to look at the old one, what's been in the code already.
If you could do that for us while we're getting the exact dollar number. Okay.
Yeah, and in that ordinance, if we do have to move that ordinance, do we include the time frame? In other words, like somebody can't just sign up and go get the tax
Well,
abatement?
we
and
talked to,
Talked about 2 years.
2 years.
during the work session, it's less than 2 years. A lot of them were doing 6 months. So they were gonna get together as the fire meeting and the EMS together and try to make it all the same and then get back to us
Oh, well, that would be good.
when they certify that this person's active. That way each one's not doing it different.
Yeah, I think we need to make sure if they're not,
They want it
if
to
they
be
don't have a
uniform.
credential, that they're actively, they
Credentials,
get them and
active,
stuff like that, you know.
in a period of time.
That'd be for the chief.
They're all
Yeah.
gonna get together and make sure that everybody's being treated the same.
Good deal.
Christie, while you're at the podium, you and I have been talking back and forth. I mentioned it to Bill, and I mentioned it at the last meeting about potentially having a senior citizen discount. I just wanted to elaborate a little about our discussion that this is something that's going to take a great amount of time.
Correct.
It's not going to happen in 25, 26. And some of the things, correct me if I'm wrong, that we have to do is we've got to know how many 65-year-old individuals own property. The board's going to need to set gross income limits for real estate and personal property.
Correct.
We're also going to have to decide if we want to set limits on everyone living in the same house as elderly or combined net worth. And the board is going to need to decide if this exemption is just for 65 or older or include disabled. And we would have to decide on how many acres and on and on and on. So
Exactly.
it is a lengthy process, but it is
And
something
the
we're looking
nature of
at.
the nature of the abatement is, you know, can we budget it each year and say, okay, this year we've got $15,000 that we can divide amongst our applicants. Next year something happens and we have $35,000. It'd be nice to set up some kind of a revolving fund and spend the interest or spend.
Right.
spend
And
it down.
it should be a hardship application process is what it should be. You know, you said handicap, and then you said senior citizen, but they need to be
But
in a
does the
hardship saying.
code specify whether it's hardship or just
I'd
senior
have to go
citizen?
back and look at
That's
the
something we'll
code.
have
So
to look at.
there's gonna be a lot of this, we're gonna work on it.
Yeah, we definitely
Work
need
in
to sit
progress.
down. It's a lot of work to do.
I just don't,
The federal government's got a hardship code through the Farm Service Agency. For farmers, I wouldn't see why it'd be any different. We'd have to check that out and see.
I
Right,
just didn't want to
absolutely.
give them false hope after mentioning it last week that,
Right.
oh yeah, that's going to happen when we get our tax bill in 25, because you're not.
But these
not.
solar
It's gonna
companies
be-
pay to offset the reductions here.
Yes, we
Yeah,
can, we can
that's
set
right.
that aside.
We've got one that's agreed to start the fund for us.
Good.
So we can get that in an interest-bearing account.
Yeah, make them pay each year.
It's still just gonna take
That's it.
time.
It's a lot of time, but thank
take
you
a
for
lot of
working on
time.
it. It's a lot of work that you put into
We're
this.
spending the
I
money
have
already.
another question while I'm on here.
Yeah, we don't
They're in
have.
the weeds right now. They didn't hear what you
I
said.
know. I have another
She
question.
said she has another question,
Yes,
Mr.
ma'am.
Chairman.
Where are we at with the twice-a-year billing for next year?
I say do it.
I say do not do it.
That's where we at.
That's where we're at, okay.
That's where we are.
That's where we are, because nobody's, y'all haven't agreed.
How much more staff you need to do it?
We talked about doing a public hearing, Mr. Chairman.
Not for
Yes.
real
I
estate, I won't.
thought we were
If
gonna
we
do a public
do
hearing.
For that?
personal property, I'll need an
When
extra
is it?
staff member.
Well, I haven't arranged it. Y'all keep,
Well, let's arrange a public hearing and then let the public tell us.
I don't think,
yeah,
I don't, I've had enough public tell me, absolutely, we in a rural area.
I've had plenty say, you better do it.
Yeah,
And I have both, I hear both.
yeah, I hear
what do
about
we
it.
have to do?
You need an ordinance
Yes.
to be able to do
Yes.
that.
That's right.
So you want to start working on that in 2026, maybe?
So we'd have to have an ordinance to even have the public hearing.
I mean, yeah.
Yes, say
But wait a
yes.
minute, can we have the public hearing just to get the public's feedback without the ordinance being included in the public hearing?
Well, then you gotta have another one to pass the ordinance.
Right?
Right, I mean, you can have a discussion about it, I
Yeah.
suppose, but they're not gonna know the specifics of what you guys are trying to do unless you have an ordinance, so.
So you want her to work on the ordinance?
I don't.
All right,
If you
Daphne?
asked me and I told you.
I don't think there's anything wrong at looking at it and see.
If somebody
what
pays
happens.
$3,000 or $4,000 a year, whip-it-do, if they have to split it and pay it half. If somebody pays $25,000 to $40,000 a year, and depending on a grain crop taking it in, then the person that pays 3 or 4 ought to not have no say-so to do with it. That's what I say.
Mr. Ingram?
I've always said,
You a crop man from the old school?
I know exactly, what look, I remember them crop time loans and stuff.
Right.
I say we need to do everything we can to tell the citizens that you can start paying anytime you want to.
We've talked about this.
I know, and they need to.
And maybe give them an
understand that.
incentive to do it.
You don't have to have billing every 6 months. You can go in there tomorrow and put your money down.
You can't.
You know, so to me,
And if we're getting interest on it, give them incentive to do it.
yeah.
Those with.
But don't
you know,
penalize the ones that can't do it.
Those with regular mortgages are already paying it, 12 times a year. Because it's in their escrow.
Get a Christmas
Mr. Rourke,
Christmas Club
Any opinion?
account, that's what I did.
you have any opinion?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, what's going on is I'm hearing it from both ends, and at the end of the day, if you do it, like Bo was saying, if you do it, how
Incremental.
many of those people is it going to put in a serious bind?
You exempt a farmer.
Well, he not, or a fisherman, maybe a fisherman.
Well, if we do about it, we got to draft an ordinance anyway where we could possibly do that.
Why don't we let
Is
them
that
do it
illegal to
optional?
exempt them?
To exempt,
The farmers from this twice
I'm
a
with
we
year.
would have to look at the state code. I would
I don't think
imagine
the
there
code
would.
will let you do it optional.
Right.
Can we
I
give,
think-
you can't give them an incentive, Catherine,
All right,
if they
I
pay
think-
it
I don't
twice a
think we've
year?
gotten any further
We
than
getting
we
interest
just
on their money.
That's right, that's what we keep running into.
Mr.
All right.
Bowen, work session, discussion.
Well, if
We
there's
talked about it
if
for
there's
6
something
months.
in there that would exempt the farmers in this hardship like this,
We done talked about it for 6 months.
yeah, and that's what
What you
I'm
gonna
saying.
do?
So let's draft.
It'll get off the pot.
But with all due
let's-
respect, not
let's
everybody's a farmer either.
You're exactly right. The ones that only pay $3,000 a year in real estate ought not have no say-so to
All
want
right,
to pay
all right.
25.
All right, we've talked,
I'm
we beat this.
happy
Thank you,
to
Kat.
look at it.
All right, we're
and-
not, nothing,
okay.
no action. No action at this time.
We've been talking about it 6 months, we'll do it another 6. Chris, I blame that on you for raising the question. Bless you.
All right, we're going
Bless
on,
your heart,
we're going
Katie.
on to unfinished business. We already talked about the animal shelter. We've talked a little bit about dispatching. Here's something that we've had questions about. Who are these people in my right of way with this big orange pipe and the tractors and the trucks? And why are there ruts in my yard?
And when are they gonna
Things
get
like
me
that.
service?
So they were at my house. And it was on Juneteenth. And I was so proud to see him out there. And then my neighbor got home and he had ruts in his yard. So he called me. So I was able to reach out and got a response back. And the man contacted him the next day. So that was pretty good. I was happy with that. So that is River Street that's in there in your yards. Contact your supervisor if you have any problems. A truck parked in your yard. In his case, they had turned one of the big trucks around and has some ruts. So they have to go take some dirt over there and fix it. Contact your supervisor if you have trouble with River Street. They're in unmarked white trucks. You may not see River Street on it, but that's a contractor that they've hired. One of them is called Underground. That's who was at my house. All right, so contact your supervisor if you have any trouble with them. Any update on the public safety radio project, unfinished business?
None that I know of. Any on the radio project, buddy?
What about that new number?
Any update on the radio project?
What about that new number?
We're not talking about that because that's ongoing, negotiating.
All right.
Yeah, just briefly, I
Don't
thought
speak
Jimmy
to,
was gonna
don't
be
speak
here.
to.
Did you have any questions on it?
Don't speak to any dollar numbers.
On negotiations, what he's talking about, don't say nothing about it. Right.
Yeah, no, the only thing is, we've been talking to CTA, we've had a design review, I think another virtual meeting. But other than that, we
Works
talking.
ongoing.
Yeah, I mean, everything's
There's been
going
some-
along. I think they're just talking to the different vendors, and right now, it's Kenwood Engineering.
There's been some discussion I see on the internet that, they need to pause it, they need to stop it. We're under contract for $6.4 million. Bo and I negotiated it down from, what was it, 9?
It was on that part.
Or 11, something like that. So we got it down to 6.4. The funds have been borrowed from Huntington Bank in West Virginia. Right now, the funds are on deposit with Virginia's construction fund earning 6%. Our loan's at 3.8%. It's the best deal I ever made. Or I didn't make it.
I think
Our advisors made it.
That's right.
We're making money on borrowed
So
money.
so right now, this radio is happening. You can't stop the radio. You can't say we didn't sign the contract. We've got it in the budget to make the payments. So we're moving forward with the radio. Just so the citizens understand, you can't stop something once you've signed contracts and borrowed money.
Right.
And
Yeah,
the
think-
potential exists for another grant.
Correct. Well, that's what I was going to mention, Ms. Norton. Right. Thank you for bringing that up. Well, I think the main thing the public that are listening tonight, both here and abroad, is that, we're two and a half years into about a 4-year project. So this has not been a fast track. It's been very methodically done. It's been a lot of research, went through the process. I look back today, I think Mr. Rourke was the person that signed it at the time as chair. It was August of '24 We signed this contract. This contract's almost a year into it. And of course, the turn-on date again is December 31, 26. But to Ms. Norton's point, you know, we put in for another $1 million. So, and I did get good news, and I think I passed it on to all of you the other day through an email. The Senators Warner and Kane and John McGuire, Delegate McGuire, they all are working on the Senate Appropriations Committee. We made the first cut. Nottoway County has been moved over to the Appropriations Committee.
That's excellent news.
And I don't know what that means in the end, because they told us up front, they were very, very upfront with us about, this is the same pot of money that we got the first $1 million. So it's nothing guaranteed. But the good news is we have made the first cut, and it's now in Senate Appropriations. And we're hoping that all those congressmen there, the Senates and so forth are gonna vote it through. That's what we're hoping. So that will make it a $5.4 million system. And so that's what I hope. But I think the main thing everybody needs to know out here is that, again, this is about the safety. We've heard static this week, lots and lots of static. Just a traffic stop like Sheriff Jones was talking about earlier. That's all it takes to be killed. And so the radios are for our life safety. It's for firefighters, it's for the bus drivers, it's for the deputies, it's for the EMS workers that go up in houses that are full of people and dogs and things of that nature, and you don't know when someone is just going to be attacked by something like an animal. So anything that could be a threat to any of our public safety, that's what this system is about, everyone. And that's what we have to keep remembering. You know, what is the price of a life of the people that you know? And
What
even
about the
and even the
P25
ones that you
system?
don't know, right?
What about the P25 system?
Correct. P25 is something that we do not have now. P25 is a project that is part of communications. It's been around for over 10 years. And you're not grant eligible now, state or federal, if you don't have P25 system. So it actually opens up doors for grants that most people don't know about. And we've been putting grants in for years for different things, but if we do it for a radio system, it needs to be P25, and our new system will be. So,
Ms. Hyde, am I correct in saying with that P25, is a federal mandate coming forward in 2 to 3 years requiring us to go digital?
Correct.
And we already will have that with this new system in place, so we won't have to backtrack and pay additional expense to meet that federal mandate when it happens.
That's correct. And the system that we are going to is a 700 public safety system, so it gives us a spectrum of frequency that actually is plentiful for public safety, whereas the VHF that we've had for 40 years or 50 years is very limited. And getting on a VHF frequency now could cost you anywhere from $10,000 on upwards to almost $100 per frequency. Yes, state police is still on VHF, yes, but it's a different system and it's an old system, but it's a different technology. And so what we have is something that's a different broad spectrum for public safety.
And you'll be able to talk all the way from Dinwiddie Courthouse all the way to Farm.
You'll be able to talk a long ways. I can't pinpoint the exact distances, but
I'm talking about
sure.
Going from system to system to system.
Yeah,
Prince
well,
Edward-
that's correct. I thought you meant like just
No.
going out on
Each
an
county is going to be
ambulance, right?
compatible with the adjoining county.
We will. We
All right.
will. We'll be able to partner with Lunenburg. You know, we've talked to our friends in Lunenburg and also Prince Edward and Amelia. So we'll be able to turn on and link systems. And that was part of the whole project.
Well, thank you, Mr. Hyde. Just wanted to
I
clear
hope
up.
that was helpful.
One thing, Mr.
All right.
Chairman.
Ms. Norton?
That I've seen in some of that chatter about vehicular repeaters, and this system reduces both initial and ongoing costs because it's a consistent coverage. You don't have to replace vehicular repeaters periodically, and what we have in place will last during the 15 to 20-year life of the system.
Correct. And I have some vehicle repeater information for all of you. Could I approach the bench and I'll give you, it's a one-pager, I'll give each one of you.
Just to make sure it's in the big, beautiful bill.
Thank you.
Please.
Thank you, Mr. Hyde.
Yeah.
All right, courthouse PPEA update. We have a date coming up, ladies and gentlemen. And we've got a meeting on July 8th. Well, we're going to look at some findings. Did you have anything you want to talk about, Mr. Bowen?
No, I got I got one proposal in the office now. I'm getting another proposal tomorrow at 4 o'clock. My goal is to deliver that to our attorney, but of course I might have to do it Monday because she usually leaves at 12 o'clock on Fridays. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But it's going to be so late, I probably won't get it down to you, Catherine. But anyway, so I'm going to, we'll have a meeting and we'll go straight into closed session to talk about the next steps. And so I can get the, also I can get the committee on board too, you know. So the first step is let y'all see what we got and then let Catherine then tell us what the next step is and what we need to do legally to make sure we're following the guidelines.
And that July 8th date is okay with the judge? I think we're a few days.
Yeah, I think Gary was supposed
Gary-
to reach out to them. We have,
Just said, hey, they're having a meeting to approve the.
yeah,
Okay.
there should not be any issue.
Okay.
My understanding is as long as we show movement.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway,
Okay.
so please put that on your calendars though.
All right, next one is IF, and this is committee reports. So this is where you have opportunity to speak about any of the groups or other boards that you're on. I don't have anything for, the other one I'm on is Crossroads. They're doing fine. Bo and John, did you want to speak about your first?
Well, that was our unofficial first.
Okay.
We're waiting for a date for the first,
Official?
date, which I think is coming the beginning of the second week of July, but I don't know yet. You haven't heard either, have you?
Yeah, I have not heard.
Okay.
I spoke again today with personnel from there because of some concerns that have recently popped up, and there is some. Can we talk about that? Buddy. No, buddy. Can we talk about what's just developed?
I don't think we can with that board since we're on the executive board.
I don't.
Right. No. I'm sorry. I was actually talking about. I'm sorry, but thank you.
Emphasizing one person. Yeah.
No, let's.
I would say no. I would say we just wait till our executive. We got some stuff, John and I and Buddy, and a couple of those on the board have got some stuff in the makings, and some of us is in strong agreement, and some of them not in so much agreement.
So let's not
go into it.
Okay.
If
You guys
if
work
that's
on
all
it.
right with
You guys work on it together.
Yeah, that's fine. Just trying to stay transparent.
Miss-
Yes, sir.
Ms. Norton?
I will speak on CPMT, which is County Policy Management Team. We meet each month, the end of the month, at the school board office, and we had a nice send-off with Dr. Rhymes, and we will change the helm over to Dr. Martin next month. So I think I've given you at the work session, PSR and finance team, we're kind of on hold for right now.
Okay. Anybody else have any comments?
Yes, the only thing I got is from the Personnel Committee, we are probably going to want to speak with the board in closed session next month.
Okay. Can you make a note of that, Ms. Andrea? Thank you.
We got a
You
few.
Motorola.
want us to do this now or at the end? I've got a comment to make about a meeting I
We're
attended
supposed to
Monday
go
night.
in for that tonight.
Yeah.
Do that at the end?
No, you can make a comment.
All right.
Public, was it for?
I was able to attend the meeting, well, actually,
I thought it was for the land.
kind of a celebration for the EMTs from Burkeville Volunteer Fire Department. They had 3 representatives from Chippenham and Johnston Willis, and we're talking about stroke prevention. And Adam Clyburn, Chris Parrish, and Jeff Thomas were the 3 members of the Burkeville EMT who got a stroke patient to Richmond in time. And they were, the folks from Chippenham and Johnston Willis were really complimentary, brought them plaques and the whole 9 yards. So I think that's something that everybody needs to understand. They gave us, folks from Chippenham and Johnston Willis gave us, if you think you're having a stroke, you can stop at Swift Creek, they will send you on, or, I think they talked about getting the helicopter, and Adam Clyburn said, well, we figured by the time the helicopter got there, we could almost be at Swift Creek. Because you gotta call in, they gotta say they're coming, and blah, blah, blah. So they just took off and went. And they were very complimentary of those 3 people, that they
Well,
got there
that's-
in time.
This year, we've had, a lot of bad news and complaints, and so that's wonderful
Yes.
to hear some good news.
Yeah. I was very impressed with the presentation, and Burkeville Volunteer Fire Department did a good job of having the folks come and make those statements.
Next item, we had the Motorola bill from 2022.
Yeah.
What kind of investigation have we?
Well, Mr. Chairman, we sent that to our attorney for review, and the response was, we need to pay it.
All right.
That 50-some thousand
Yes, sir.
that we spoke of, that was
That you told
statute
me
of
to put on-
limitation, didn't have nothing to do with that.
No, I mean, there was a contract signed and it's ongoing, so
Why wasn't it paid before, and why didn't they send us a bill prior?
that I cannot speak to, and I don't know why it wasn't paid.
Can it be who's got the negotiating power of Nottoway County? As far as negotiating the price down, Mr. Administrator? Do you?
That would be this
I
board
can
and
negotiate,
Steve.
but-
Well, I think it should be, and I think it should be asked why they waited 2 years to bill it. And therefore, how much are you willing to give us a discount, 70%? It would help the citizens of the county.
All right, we'll frame up something.
I mean, I think it'd be worth pursuing. We ain't talking about a couple $100 here,
Every dollar's a dollar.
and this is a tens of thousands of dollars.
Do what?
It's been paid,
Paid.
too late.
Never mind. I digress.
Because once we got the email from my lawyer, we went on and went.
Well,
forward.
you took advisement of your lawyer, you did the right thing.
Okay, new business.
Not all lawyers, but all
Do we
lawyers.
still-
So back in February, we sold some timber, the trees were coming off, and of course, we had all of our extra land is on LoopNet and on the VEDP site for sale around our airport in Blackstone. It's 7 or 8 different parcels. I think the biggest one is 150 acres. Adjacent to our airport is a parcel where we cut the trees. There's some disagreement as to how many acres it is. It's been said 73, timber said 84. So we're not, it's meets and, to this stump, to that stump, we don't have a survey of it. Mr. Vanderbeck, town manager from Blackstone, came to me and he said, we've got a lot of great things going on out here. And Steve and I went. Who else went?
I think it was just you and I.
So we went out and visited a business out there. It's called Textron. Come on up there.
Oh, no, the mayor.
And the mayor went?
Mayor went too. Ben.
So we toured Textron, and we had no idea how extensive that operation was. And that is drones. And those drones are being used overseas right now. They're being made here in Nottoway County. So Mr. Vanderbeek asked me, he said, well, how can that land you've got for sale, how can we restrict it so that it's aviation? And so then I talked to Mr. Zodi. Mr. Zodi started working on an aviation ordinance. We've shared that ordinance with Mr. Miskovic. He's had some suggestions. Unknown what crew will do with it, but it's going to be available to them just like it is to, now Blackstone owns the airport. This is some county land that we're going to look at restricting with our solar ordinance. Not solar. Aviation ordinance. Aviation ordinance.
You said no.
And then we had a meeting. Philip called me and said, come out here, let's have a meeting. So he talked about, well, why don't we start looking at the Tobacco Commission money? And then he told me about Virginia aviation grants. An owner of an airport can apply for grants. The county can't apply. Town of Blackstone can. You've given us a handout. You want to kind of go ahead?
This is a presentation that I prepared for the Virginia Economic Development Partnership and for the Department of Aviation prior to our meeting, which was on the same day in Richmond, and I had to run back. But this is the first page is a kind of a sketch drawing that Mr. Zodi provided to me, and that actually shows 84 acres. It's the purple shaded area just south of State Route 40.
Next to UAV Pro.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I guess purple would be the closest color. I think you guys have sold some property off of that. I think you cut approximately 64 acres, and our experts tell us it's about 72 acres, but I do not have a survey of the property. So we're going to assume somewhere between 84 and 64, with 72 maybe being the middle, and maybe we're right there. But there is not a survey of the property. It is adjacent to State Route 40, and it is adjacent to the Allen C. Perkinson Blackstone Municipal Airfield. Here's a Google Earth view, and it's approximately that wooded area north of the 4 Barfoot Fire Station, but it does include about 3/4 of that grassy area just to the north of the fire station as well. If you're familiar, it's where the set of bleachers has been sitting since the last Nottoway powwow that was out there.
Yeah.
Remember?
So you had a meeting with your board, and you and I had discussed 4 different ways of doing this. What did your board suggest?
Pardon?
Your board, the town?
The board has met, or the town council has met, and as the property is listed on LoopNet, I'm here tonight to make an offer to purchase the property, cash offer.
So you'd request to go to closed session at the end of this meeting to make an offer.
Make an offer.
Okay.
And the purpose of the property or the purpose of the project is, quite frankly, we feel so strongly about the autonomous air mobility, which is short, or the long phrase for unmanned aerial vehicles. And
Such as drone.
Drone.
Uh-huh.
And the growth of training, research development, and manufacture at the Blackstone Army Airfield, that we think that this type of offering probably presents, certainly for the county and certainly for the town, the biggest opportunity economic development-wise since Fast C and the hospitality and hotel rooms and such things. This is our, what we believe is the next Fast C in our area. I think we've satisfied the hospitality demands from Fast C, and that's been a huge benefit to the town, to the county, to everybody. We think this has as much or more potential.
And then you've got the first licensed vertiport, and you also have an airplane charger.
We do have an
out there.
electric airplane charger. You can charge your car, your airplane, whatever you got, and you can charge it out there. We are the first licensed vertiport. I've heard the country and I've heard the world, but I'll go country.
And there's already been inquiries from pharmaceutical companies about using that vertiport.
And the purpose of the vertiport and the electric chargers is there's a company called Beta that is setting up an infrastructure on the East Coast, and they do electric delivery, they do electric transportation, and they want to have these chargers in ideally suited locations.
And we shared that information with Mr. Miskovic, I believe.
I think we did. So it is the nation, I can certify it's the nation's first licensed vertiport. It is also the eastern terminus. If you look at the last few pages of this presentation, you can see where Virginia Tech has selected the Blackstone Army Airfield as the eastern terminus of their corridor development plan, which is a decreed instrument, I don't know the proper term, but procedure and protocol for unmanned vehicles, with Virginia Tech and Roanoke being on the other, or on the western terminus. And I'd like to bring to your attention, we're very proud of this.
On the LoopNet, you said it was on LoopNet, therefore you was gonna make an offer. Was there a price on LoopNet?
There is not.
You had all your property.
It's just
yeah.
listed.
It's
There's no individual prices, right?
So you take offers off of LoopNet? You just,
It's marketed and then people inquire.
so you're inquiring and then making an offer? You've already inquired, now you're gonna make an offer?
I'm gonna make an offer to you.
Okay.
But I would like to point out on the last page of that handout that I gave to you, if you look at bullet point number 4, on the Smart Aerospace Program proposal that Virginia Tech has proposed, it says a flight validation demonstration of the autonomous aviation mobility network will be conducted. This will involve obtaining necessary flight authorizations, coordinating with FAA air traffic control, and executing uncrewed aircraft flights of the entire network using an autonomous mobility surrogate, UAS, Textron Aerosonde, and that is wholly manufactured in Nottoway County, Virginia.
Philip, let me ask you a question,
No.
and you may have to go back to your board to get an answer, or you may be able to answer it now. Blackstone likes to do wonderful things.
We do.
Y'all have done very wonderful things. Y'all look like you're probably interested in something we got if you're willing to make an offer on it. What about a joint venture with the county?
Well, I think.
Because we like to do wonderful things and get our county some revenue too.
You get all the revenue. We don't get any revenue.
I'm talking about ongoing.
Ongoing, you get all the revenue.
Because
So
it's county land.
It's not, it's not in
So-
town limit.
He's getting ready to make an offer to purchase the land, correct?
Correct.
But you
And
get all
at
the
that time,
taxes.
it will not be county land.
It'll be
It's in
town land.
Right.
And then he's going to access, there's two different ways that there's money out there. One is the Virginia Tobacco Commission. As a county in the tobacco region, we can apply. They prefer to have regional applications, so that would be the county and the town applying.
Okay.
Because the town owns the airport, the county owns the land.
And they'd be applying for the tobacco commission money to use for what purpose?
Pop the stumps, siltation ponds,
And who will oversee that?
going to get the site work.
I would.
You would oversee getting that done, because the town of Blackstone owns the land. Rightfully, if the Nottoway kept the land and we done it, Steve would oversee it, correct?
But I wouldn't be able to get the grants that he's gonna get.
That's,
That's what I was going to ask you.
When
When we first started talking about it, you said
Virginia-
Blackstone was eligible for the grant, but the county was
Now,
not.
there's two different pots of money.
Okay.
You gotta let me finish.
All right.
Tobacco Commission money, county, town is eligible. That could be a joint application, and the Tobacco Commission likes to see us work together.
Okay.
The Virginia Department of Aviation
We are the sponsor.
has a grant program, dedicated funds for owners of airports to develop property. One of the meetings that we had was with the Virginia Department of Aviation. They will participate, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Philip, they'll participate when a prospect says, hey, I want to come there. I want 5 acres. And so that could be the town applying for some development rights, to clean the property up and get it ready for them.
So the prospect being the town?
No, a private business would contact the town and say, hey, I heard you've got this property out there, or the county, however this conversation ends up. The prospect contacts them. We could not apply to the Virginia Department of Aviation. If a prospect comes and they own it, they can apply to the Virginia Department of Aviation for that money.
Because of that current airfield.
They own the airport.
The airfield.
So the county can apply if we own the land.
But they can't.
Town can't.
So that would be a big, huge
So that's
benefit.
a separate pot of money that we can't get to. Now, if you were to get a prospect that says, I want 5 acres and the county still owned it, we could have this transaction then.
So just
Two
thinking,
transactions.
We'll
But that's-
talk more about this, but going back to the Virginia Tobacco Commission money, giving some money to potentially pop some stumps up, if we applied for that and we cleared the land, it would automatically be worth more money. And it wouldn't cost us anything because we got the Virginia Tobacco Commission money.
Potentially.
I mean, I'd rather us get the money, we clean it up and sell it to them for more money to help the citizens out of Nottoway, wouldn't you? But we'll talk about that back out.
No, I'd like talking about it out here.
Okay, go ahead.
I don't really, the reason that we want to move forward is that property's been sitting there for 30-plus years.
You got a
The
new
county
board
ain't done
here,
a stinking
but you got a new board here, a new time, baby.
Well,
We ready to rock and roll.
We bring in a valid, legitimate offer. We're not asking you for any money. You get all the tax revenue. It's inside the county and not inside the town. You won't lose a dime, but you're not getting anything off it right now. That's a fact. For 30 years, you ain't got nothing off it.
We just got some timber off of it, didn't we?
Yep, 192,000.
That was growing all, you're a timber man, you knew how much it would appreciate it every year, about 9 to 11%.
Now, about 3 to 5%
Oh.
would be more accurate.
Was the hardwood a pine?
Huh?
So what do,
I think the biggest thing is, we got a lot of land, but we don't have an industrial park.
How much land do we have at Pickett?
What is
I've
it,
asked
3?
this question 4 times.
434 acres.
And that includes this 60-some acres. It does. I mean, with the acres we're talking about here.
I was told it was over 1,100 acres.
Citizens were
No, it's
told
not.
years ago it was, and I won't ever told that, but it was some citizens
I
thought it
think you
was.
sold Fast C a bunch.
We sold Fast C about 800-some thousand acres. It's a lot of acres.
All right, well, I like doing business on the up and up. I don't like being given this information right before a offer is gonna be made. So
I don't think we gotta accept no offer, John.
No, well, I get that, but
We
there,
don't have to accept
but
the offer
there's,
tonight, do we? Is that why we're going in there?
but there's plenty of other
gonna
stuff
say a
here
number.
Oh,
that
okay.
needs to be
Don't have to
considered,
accept.
that needs to be
We don't have
talked
to
about.
decline or
Number one,
accept,
we
right?
talking about tobacco commission money again. Does anybody know the amount of tobacco commission money that has gone into Pickett Park? Do we?
Like, how much are we allocated for? I don't know that number, John.
Or the
I can find-
TROF funds? Do we know anything about that? Where that money's gone to? Okay, so
What's the second one?
TROF funds,
What's that stand for?
tobacco, yes.
Yeah.
All right.
On that tobacco money, you're allocated so much, and then when you do some regional, you get a little more money. Anyway, so I have
so
to find,
that's when
it's
you
two
have
different numbers.
That's when you have 2 applicants, so.
Yeah, that's right.
That's when
right.
both
You-
names are on.
You get less money if you just go out on your own, but if you do some regional, you get more money. But anyway,
All right.
but I have to find that out.
So-
We have a contact in there, I think.
So what I want to talk about here is how much revenue so far, year to date, have we gotten off of giving our land away, basically, to Pickett Park? Because see, one of the things that I don't like here is like, part of this land swap deals and stuff that is going on, we're talking about also giving up the Officers Club, which would do what? Giving up the events at the Officer Club, where is that going to push the business to?
To the towns.
To the Armory in Blackstone? What about the rest of the towns in Nottoway County? There's 2 more towns that we keep seeming to forget about. We talked a little bit about them tonight, but you know, I want to know what revenue the county has gotten year to date for all the investments in the Tobacco Commission funds that we have put out there. What are we getting as a revenue stream from out there? Dickie said it best a while back. We're giving our land away and getting nothing for it. I want to look at projections 20 years down the road,
I don't
guys.
think we haven't given anything. We've sold.
No,
Now
what
it's
I'm
back
sa-
on the tax roll.
Well, there's
The
other.
whole problem is, y'all, and I've been here, I know, I've seen it. When Pickett closed, they gave the county all this land and timber and everything else. The first thing that happened was Virginia Tech swooped in and took the land and the timber. You go out and look at the research, that was part of Fort Pickett. And the county gave it to Virginia Tech. I was told by a resident of Blackstone that a man lost his job on the Board of Supervisors because he wanted to cut the timber first and then give it to Virginia Tech. He gave Virginia Tech the land and the timber. So you start thinking about what's been going on. We've been doing things with
What year was that? What year was that, Mr. Ingram?
That's been that's
Way
when the
back.
Pickett first closed.
Yeah, so when Pickett closed, it was been in the early, in 90 what? 96.
No, it was before then. It was before then.
I know they gave the land to Arbortech, but that has been they did that knowing that they were gonna get machine and tools, like we get 20-some thousand.
Yeah, but you know what 2 sawmill owners told me when that happened? Whoever the board that done that was? They said they'd give something to start something new because it's gonna be better, rather than help something been in business for 40 years, stay in business, than employees.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna argue the point. I mean, I wasn't on the board, but that's what they did. You know?
Right,
You're
I remember that.
Right.
But I don't think that's probably.
I don't think Blackstone's talking about they're gonna make an offer.
Well, I get that.
We don't have to accept or decline it tonight anyway. We just
Right,
wanna hear
Well,
what-
there's got to be an
is-
offer, and then there has to be a public hearing.
Right, because somebody else may wanna make an offer. Right, ain't that
All
how
right,
the government
but
works?
I
Been on the
think,
market for 6 months, ain't nobody made an offer yet.
That's true.
Yeah. But I would like to point out, I know Mr. Rourke says this is a little bit of a short notice, but we have provided the documents to the county about 2 months ago. With
We've
the,
had,
the
there's been
appraisal
two,
figures
there's been 2 closed sessions and 1 open session. Already.
with town council.
Well, I'm talking about with the county.
Would you guys?
This board has had 2 closed sessions and 1 open session.
One thing we haven't done, Philip, is that I know that, well, I told you this, that when I went out there and saw Textron, I had no idea how much business is out there. And I was on the board for 15 and a half years, and I had no clue what's out there.
You gotta remember, these are
It's
defense
warehouses
contractors.
full
They
of.
don't do a lot of
I didn't-
advertising.
And I don't think y'all have seen it yet, so I told Philip.
and they were the
4
ones that
board
said that they
members-
get a call a week.
4 board members I know hadn't even seen that stuff. Anyway.
Well, didn't Trump give 147 of them to acts out there?
That's Fastly, this is the drone company, Fastly's.
No, but we just said, he just talking about 15 and a half years, had no idea what they're doing, and you said that was something services, and that's the service that Trump just gave to acts to 147.
I'm not sure.
There's 600, they had 600 employees.
Well, 147 cut them on back, didn't it?
That was the contractors, yeah.
About a third.
all right, well,
But have y'all seen the Textron, anything? Have any of y'all seen that?
no, I wasn't invited to the meeting.
Are
Is
we
anybody
past-
else?
are we
I didn't know
past
there was a meeting.
There we go.
Textron.
That's part of what I want to know here. So we got the federal government trying to purchase our land inside the fence, and we're trying to give the state land outside the fence, and then we're going to have these other things dropped on us without any information about what revenue. Do we have a guarantee on it? And I'm gonna go back and I spurred this from your comment that you mentioned a while back, Dickie. When we sell our land, folks, when we sell all of it, or when we give it away, what happens? Where do we go to for revenue?
Taxpayer.
Back to the taxpayers. Thank you. Back
But
to the taxpayers.
But John, too, we can't keep going backwards to what was. What we have right now is a failing infrastructure out there at the LRA and all that, all the buildings, the officers club are falling apart and going to hell. They need money that we don't have to fix them. So I see on this point, we're trying to create an industrial park with this venture, but my concern is, what are we doing for Crew too? How does that affect the Crew airport? How does it affect the Crew industrial park? What we can do for them as well?
Who has the aviation zoning? I've talked to Phil about it. The problem with Cruise Airport is they're surrounded by private landowners, and so they're kind of limited as to what
They can do.
you can't tell a private landowner, hey, we're going to put this aviation ordinance on you. You know, it's an existing small farm or what it is. It'll be available to the crew if that land was to become available, and it's in the corridor that's coming from Blacksburg to Blackstone. If somebody wanted to buy it and put the ordinance on it and then do business, that's a possibility.
Philip, I heard you said it's been sitting there for a long time and ain't done nothing but grew timber. And we just harvested timber. We would be getting some tax income out of it, better than just sitting there for them extinct bats.
That's what I was gonna say. Is Textron being taxed by the county now?
Yes.
Okay, well, see, that's what I'm saying. That is money coming in.
And when's the last time we went up on machine and tools? We haven't in a long time.
And that's what I'm saying. There's other things to look at before we start selling stuff for this. We need to know what type of revenue streams we're going to be getting. Here's the other thing. If an industrial company would come in there because we sell it to some other entity, let me ask you this. Why ain't they coming now?
They've been inquiring, and that's why this was back in February. We started talking about it.
Okay, so when was the rest of the board going to be told, when these meetings happen, when was the rest of the board going to be told that we put something on hold for one person? I don't agree with that. The board didn't make that decision.
John, it's District 5. I was asked to come to a meeting and then a second meeting. It's District 5. It's my district. Now that we've kind of figured out what it could look like, you've received a presentation on behalf of me representing District 5.
If you guys just want to do your thing, there's no sense in the town getting beat up over this. We're just making an offer.
Yeah,
We're not asking
we want to
a
hear
favor.
you offer it.
We ain't asking a favor. We
sign
ain't
no
asking you
deed
to
tonight.
give it to us.
Yeah.
Y'all advertise it, put it on a real estate website
y'all
for sale,
interested.
and we just making an offer. And if you guys want to consider an offer, great. If you don't want to consider an offer, let it grow tumbleweeds out there, just like it's been.
Well, we'll listen to the offer.
And if you guys want to do it tonight, you can. Steve got it in hand, so.
He got the number in hand.
But you asked me to hold that until y'all went in closed session. So I've held that.
Why do we need to go in closed session if we're just going to hear the number?
It's called negotiations and
No, it ain't gonna be no
somebody else-
negotiation.
but
It's
if
all
somebody
taxpayers'
else-
money. It's
Yeah,
all
but if-
taxpayers' money. I agree with both.
We got to have a public hearing.
I'd be more than happy to tell you. Council didn't tell me to tell you in closed session. It's $651,000.
How much is that acre?
$9,000 an acre.
How much?
$9,000
Assuming it's how many acres?
72, and the comp is your property out there on Nottoway Avenue, $8,800 acre. That's where the number come from. I'll let y'all chew on it. You got it. We don't need to go in closed session.
Is that a cash offer?
Damn right.
Or you don't want us to finance it? Hold deed of trust?
We don't need nothing from you. We don't
were
want
hoping to get a little
this,
interest.
is why we're making
Hoping
an
to get a little
offer.
interest.
Take it.
All right, any more questions from Mr. Vanderbilt?
All right,
We've
thank
got
you,
a
sir.
number, okay?
So that, I saved us from going into closed session.
Yep, we're not going to closed session.
Thank you. Y'all welcome.
Well, I think there's another matter that we got to go into closed session on real estate.
Yep, we gotta go.
Thank you, sir.
J2 BZA appointments. Greg Zodi?
Okay, the first thing I have is the reappointment for District 5. That's Mr. James McDaniel.
Okay, good.
He, and I should mention to y'all, he was elected chair when I had my BZA case on March 31st. And Brandon Martin was made vice chair. Second thing, that's the first person, and he is interested in serving again. Mr. McDaniel is. I reached out to Thomas Gregory, and he's in District 2, and I reached out to him inquiring whether or not he wanted to serve on the BZA again, and he said he did not. He's put in his time, he's good. So we have an opening in District 2, and I'm not sure of any others at this time. Everybody else
Can
is
I
correct?
interject, Greg? I just got an email from Mr. Payne, Richard Payne. He said, "Good evening, it's with regret that I'm submitting my resignation from the BZA board effective July the 15th. He's my district, District 3.
Okay, so he's gone. Okay. All right. Thank you, ma'am.
I'll forward that to you.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Okay, that's all. Is there anything else y'all need from me?
I don't think so. I did start inquiring for District 5 for planning.
Thank you, sir. I
So I'm
appreciate
inquiring
that.
around for that. Resolution for employee bonuses, Administrator Bowen.
Yeah, that's on the J3. According to the auditors have been here this week. We have to have this, right, Logan?
We have to have it mostly for social services.
So social services, okay. But anyway, I'm asking for approval of you to sign the resolution. And me as the clerk. It's on the second
So we need a
page.
motion, or
Yes.
like a motion for the resolution for employee bonuses?
So moved.
I second.
All in favor?
All right. Mr. Chairman, in your package as J4, a while back, the county had, when we had our attorney, Sands Anderson, a lady named Faith, and I can't think of her last name now. But anyway, she is very much understands HR policies, and so she had helped with this HR policy that we have in front of us. The HR, let's see, that's Daphne and John had met and had some discussions, and John and Daphne also came to the office, and we met in there at one time. The only thing, and I'll turn it over to Daphne and John, but the only thing that I received from the board, a board member, is on page 5, under 3.6. It likes to be added the term. This is the sentence: the county permits the employment of qualified relatives employees as long as such employees does not, in the opinion of the county, create an actual or perceived conflict of interest. The purpose of this policy is relative is a spouse, child, parent, sibling, grandparent, grandchild, aunt, uncle, niece, nephew, first cousin, or corresponding in law or step relation. This person has asked that we would include romantic relationships in there. That's something to chew on. Love is in the air.
Mr. Bowen, I might point out that section 5.3 talks multiple paragraphs about personal relationships in the workplace.
That kind of
So
makes it match.
that covers everything.
Okay, but we could just add that in there if you want to.
Yes.
We wanted on page 17, the board
Excuse me
member
a minute,
wants.
Mr. Bowen, Mr. Chairman, I'm gonna be temporarily excused, and I'll be right back.
Oh, but we need to have a recess, then. If you're gonna leave the room?
Do we have to have recess?
Yeah, if
To
you're
go
gonna
to-
leave the room, you have a recess.
Not according to Robert rules here that I just read.
Rules of procedure?
Our rules of procedure?
Yes, sir.
Robert rules doesn't say that. Didn't we adopt them in our rules of procedure?
Mr. Chairman,
You go to all the board
maybe we
meetings, if
may
one gets
take
up,
a
go to the
3-minute
restroom,
break. 3-minute break.
it would be what?
I think it would be proper practice to take like a 5-minute break.
Do you wanna do that or continue? I mean, I got,
No, I can take a break.
let's take a
3-minute
5-minute
break.
break.
Take a
We'll take a
5-minute
10-minute if we're gonna do that.
Have a
then.
recess.
I can smoke a cigarette.
Make a motion.
I make a motion that we take a 10-minute recess.
Second.
All in favor?
I drunk a lot of fluid today.
Well,
Chairman, I was going through the changes that was recommended on the employee handbook.
Everybody mic back up?
Yes, sir.
So page 17, that's really showing you, you know, this a lot of things with case law. This one that says Davison versus Randall at the very bottom of the first paragraph. That lady's name. She ran for NACO. You remember the other night when we had that gentleman here and y'all talked about putting some on Facebook about if they can ask questions through Facebook. You got to be very careful that if we put that on Facebook and I'm going to use Woodson out front, he don't mind. He got thick skin, and Woodson says, "Hey, Bo Toth, you're a jerk." Da 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 da. You can't take that off Facebook. That has to stay on there because that's his right to say that. And so that's where that case came from.
I have a right to respond to him?
You can respond to him, but it's got to stay up. That's right. You can't take it down because you dislike what they said about you. Okay, that's what. And I was VACO president when that case came out. But anyway, she was in Loudoun County, and I don't think she got elected for NACO because of that. The other one is 8.4 on page 32. Leave donation. There was requested to delete that. Other board members had called and said they disagree with that. A leave donation is allowed for the state, and so that's why that's in there. In other words, let's say I'll use John for if he was working for the county, he went through hardship, and I got 20 days of leave. I can give him leave to help him out so he can still get his paycheck. So, but anyway,
we did that in the school system.
Okay, but you can
Put that in.
take that out if you want to. The last one I totally agree with on page 48. That was a miss on my end. At the very top, it says if you have an accident, it says the county may conduct a post-accident testing. The state is required, so change that word. The county will conduct post-accident testing after an accident. That's something you got to do within so many hours for the state. If you wreck a vehicle, that's the first thing they're going to take you somewhere and get drug tested.
You're talking about a drug test or alcohol?
Yeah, they're going to take you drug test alcohol immediately. So that's Ms. Norton and Mr. Roy. That's the feedback I got from the board members. So I'll yield to you if y'all got other things you want to talk about.
Steve, you relayed very well. It's 11 sections to this document. And the biggest thing, the responsibility of the board is not only the power to hire, pay, and fire, it's personnel decisions and policy. That's our biggest responsibility. And more than anything else, the quality of people that you employ in the county will determine the quality of services that you give. This is a document that is long overdue. Steve, what's it been, 10, 15 years since
I reckon it's been a long time.
This has been updated?
Yeah, probably so.
It should be, whether we're a county government or company practices, usually every couple of years you update this. So we're really behind, and that's negligent to our employees. It's a benefit to our employees. So.
And Ms. Norton, I left that out. The constitutional office do not, by law, have to adopt our policy.
Correct. They can adopt it if they wish.
If they wish.
Most of them do. They go along with it, but they don't have to because they are constitutional officers. But state law requires that we have the creation of a county personnel system. So this is a good document. The only other addition I will have is I would like to see remaining that leave donation, leave share is what we call it with the state. I think it's a good motivator for people. It shows compassion because sometimes, I mean, there's a lot of people that work all the time and they aren't going to use their leave. And then there's someone that may get sick and they go over. So I think it's a really good incentive because we don't pay our employees a lot like some other agencies and individual companies. So it's just an innovative thing that we can add to our document. John, do you have anything?
It was a very good thing with the school system because we had several teachers that got sick and people jumped up and donated. And so because they ran out of sick leave because, I think a lot of it was cancer and they ran out of their sick leave and if they didn't have that, they weren't going to get anything. So a lot of us still got the sick leave bank. Okay, that's what I thought. We would put our money in, our hours in every year if you want to put in, and it's available if somebody, but they've got to qualify for that. They can't just come in and say, well, I run out of sick leave days, so I want to get something. No, that's not the deal. It's got to be a hardship.
Well, yes, and to this document, I concur with it currently as it sits wholeheartedly, but, and also leaving this leave pool in place as well. The one thing I want the employees to know is that this too is a living, breathing document.
Yeah, that's
Once
clear.
y'all get a copy of this, we expect that you would come and any concerns you have before signing it, come talk to Steve, of course.
If we run into something, we can make changes.
That's
We know
right.
that. We know that.
Yeah, so this is not, you don't have to sit back and be force-fed this. You all have a right to have your concerns about this document brought to us, and we can adjust them accordingly. So this is what we need to be at right now, getting this thing on the books, and then hear back from y'all.
And I can't say enough how we must be compliant with Fair Labor Standards Act, FLSA, Equal Pay Act. There's a multitude of state and federal agencies and codes that we have to maintain, and we need to do a better job going forward, keeping this up to date.
Word.
Mr. Chairman, I would ask for approval of this document with the changes as mentioned, but with the exception, is everybody okay with it, is leaving the leave donation in.
I'm fine with it.
Okay.
I'm fine with it.
I'm good. Yeah.
So we're asking for a motion to approve with the changes.
So moved.
Nottoway County Employee Handbook,
I'll second.
effective date July 1st, 2025. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, handbook passed.
All right, the next one on your,
Crossroads Annual Performance Contract.
yeah, Andrea, help me out here. Do I gotta get this thing signed here? I don't see the signature paper. Yeah, but I need authorization signed. And this is one of those things with Crossroads.
This is
The
state.
state, but make you, they want you to sign it and agree with it, but they can make you do it anyway.
The state's already,
I know, it's just, anyway.
Painful to
Chairman.
read, painful to read.
I'd like to make a motion to give the authority to the county administrator to sign the annual performance contract for Crossroads.
So
I'll
maybe-
second that.
second. All in favor?
Aye.
You handed me this resolution to commit funds. When,
That's on my county, M, when I get to it. I'm sorry,
Okay,
Mr. Chairman. Sorry about that. I did throw that at you.
okay.
I think the consent be the next.
All right, everybody look at your consent items, see if you made any notes, see if you had any questions.
I know Ms. Dorn had called me about, and that's one of the reasons why Logan was here, was the budget adjustment, the supplemental transfers, K2, was that one of the questions? I can't remember. Logan, can you help me?
So, are you referring to number, yeah, all right, so
The
number
K2,
two.
yeah.
Number two is what y'all have have already approved in prior board minutes, from July to current. It's just the way that they were approved. It needed to have like, either approved as a budget supplement or a transfer. It was just approved in general. So I did a clarification of this is what was approved prior and this is what it needs to be approved as current. And then I provided the documentations of what the supplement and transfers and stuff look
You
like.
just were specific and defined the language we
Yes.
need to meet the audit standard.
Yes, because the auditor said that if
Okay.
y'all do an approval, it needs to say like if it was approved as a budget supplement or an adjustment or something like that before I can even put it in the system.
Would you prefer an adjustment as a definition?
Well, an adjustment is like if you get in, revenue for a grant that you didn't think that you were getting in or more than you thought.
A
to be.
reallocation, reappropriated?
It would be an adjustment from what we use. So that would increase your revenue or decrease it depending on if you need to take it out, and then your expenses, because you have to match your revenue and expenses. Now, the supplements are your carryovers, so if anybody asks for a carryover, then we usually hit the fund balance to offset whatever carryover they ask from the prior year. And then the transfers are whenever we, like, when y'all did the money from the discretionary for the summer grant thing. I think that's what it's called, summer grant for the sheriff's office. We did the move from
discretionary to their summer camp.
All right, so you've got your suggestion on each item. Do you want us to go down by each item?
That one you can just approve as a whole because you've already approved each one
So
individually
we can
anyways.
approve it by your suggestion?
Yes.
Can we approve the whole consent calendar?
Yes.
Yes, you can if you want to.
I would just do the whole consent calendar, if y'all okay with it.
Mr. Chairman, if you
Yes,
like,
sir.
I'd like to make a motion to
wait.
accept the recommendations on the consent items, including as presented by Ms. Logan Presley from the admin, number 2K2, the budget adjustment, supplement, and transfer wording on the previously approved items on the consent agenda from, I was thinking of the month that you were talking about.
From July
From
of
July
2024 to
2024 until now. Okay, thank you, dear, for that clarification.
All right, we've got a motion on the floor.
Looked like it was from June. Sure it won't June?
Well, June, yes, there was 2 from June for July, so yes.
We've got a motion on the floor. I had asked the board if anybody else had any changes or questions in regards to consent items. Are there any further questions? If so, I'll have it,
Second.
okay.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, consent items passed with Ms. Presley's suggestions.
Hey, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
just before the school leaves, I know they're running to the door. I do want people to understand, and so if I'm wrong, please, y'all please interrupt me here. On K5, the budget adjustment for the school, the state bonus funds, as I understand it, this money is for full-time, $1,000, part-time, $500 to the employees, and it's all state funds. It's funds that came down from the state. This is not county money.
So that answer is correct from the school.
Yes.
Okay. County Administrator report.
Thank y'all.
All right, pretty short. Yeah, I might get you to go get if you get the person that needs to go into closed session for me and bring them to the back. Yeah, they're sitting in my office. Anyway, Andrew will bring you up. All right, so real quick on this, I know y'all want to get out of here tonight. Mr. Chairman, what I'm asking you to do is approve this resolution. This is the biggest thing that I want to do, get accomplished tonight, the $8.2 million, to show that money is, and we met with the auditors, and we had a good coaching session as well. And I we're using the term obligated, and they said, no, he wants it in the written, and it's got to be committed funds, committed. And so I think that will tell that doesn't mislead you as much. We'll just show you that you got $16 million. When we get it audited, it's going to show how much money we exactly got that's not obligated. So that should have been done last year. So
You
anyway.
want to read this?
Yes, sir, if you would.
At a regular meeting of the Board of Supervisors of Nottoway County, Virginia, held at the General District Courthouse thereof on Thursday, the 26th day of June, the year of our Lord 2025, and in the 249th year of the Commonwealth, President William J. Collins III, Chairman, Daphne Norton, Vice Chairman, Richard Ingram, Jr., John A. Rourke, George G. Toth III, Steve W. Bowen, County Administrator. Resolution to commit funds. Whereas the Nottoway County Board of Supervisors can commit funds and have them subject to self-imposed specific internal constraints. And whereas the board has identified the future closure of the county's landfill as a specific need and elects to commit funds to that purpose. Now therefore be it resolved by the Nottoway County Board of Supervisors that effective July 1, 2025, $8.2 million of its unassigned fund balance be committed and held in reserve through fiscal year 2035 or the completion of the closure of the Nottoway County landfill, whichever occurs last. And be it further resolved that such funds cannot be used for any purpose other than that directed above, unless the board adopts a successor resolution to revise or remove the constraint or otherwise redirect the funds for other purposes. And be it further resolved that the county administrator of the County of Nottoway is hereby authorized and directed to do all things necessary to give this resolution effect. Approve this 26th day of June 2025, certification of adoption of resolution. The undersigned clerk of the Board of Supervisors of the County of Nottoway, Virginia, hereby certifies that the resolution set forth above was adopted during an open meeting on June 26, 2025 by the Board of Supervisors with the following votes. Aye. Collins, Norton, Ingram, Rourke, Toth.
We're hoping for the aye.
Oh.
We're hoping for the aye. I ain't got it yet.
I need a motion to adopt this resolution to commit funds.
I so move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Do I need to roll call it?
No, sorry, I think that's fine,
Okay.
what you just done.
But that's going to increase. you said.
That's going, so that, we'll have that in the.
That's set aside now.
That'll be set aside
5 years
now.
from now, it'll be 20%
So
more
when we
than
get when you get the audit in October, November, you'll see that funds are committed. That was the whole purpose, get it done.
So we need to do it again next year?
No, once you do it forever and ever.
Yeah,
amen.
but he said it goes up.
When we open up another cell,
If we open up, like John is saying, if we say, hey, it looks like it's going up, the TRC thinks it's gonna be 8.6 million, then I need to find where I'm
that's
gonna get
based
that
on
money.
our consultant
Yeah,
advice.
basically, right.
Right, so when you start taking the tops off of them, you just open another sale. Price goes up.
So do you gotta redo the money that set aside?
Oh yeah, you keep putting it on there. Back in 2020, they had a sale open and open in the last one. What we were putting in, as it was explained to me, was roughly $150,000 a year at that time for the closure.
Increase.
It increased. When we began construction on that sale that's being operated now, we had another one open, it was over $300,000 because you opened another sale.
All right, we're going to go to comments from members of the board. Vice Chairman Norton.
It's been nice not to have finance meetings. I don't have a lot to report this month. I said my piece during the meeting, so thank
Okay.
everybody, and be safe, hydrate, and thank Mr. Hyde for staying on top of everything for us.
Supervisor Ingram.
I pretty much had my comments about the Burkeville Volunteer Fire Department, but we got a lot of stuff on our plate, and we need to make the right decisions for the citizens of this county. And, you know, I had a discussion, probably tell I went to the barber shop today, and I had a discussion about the services that the county provides and taxes. And the gentleman was sitting there talking to me, and he says, when I call, I want somebody to come and get me if I need to go somewhere. I said, well, you got to understand, that's not free. And he said, I don't like my taxes going up, but you got to do what you got to do. So.
Exactly right. Yep. Unfortunately, sad but true.
Yep.
Supervisor Rourke.
Yes, I want to first of all thank the school for what they're bringing forth, you know, with their new motto. I love that, you know. I think that's something that we all can get behind and, you know, continue to support each other because we're all trying to make sure we got the best interests of the citizens involved as a whole, health, safety, and welfare first. And to the office staff, love y'all. Y'all are rock stars, absolute rock stars, and I appreciate everything y'all do. To this board, I love y'all. Yeah, it's gonna be a love fest tonight from John. I love y'all. I love y'all. I love y'all. And I want to encourage everybody to please, on July 1, go see the fireworks show in Crew, and then on July 2nd, go and see the fireworks show in Blackstone. You don't have to go far to see a phenomenal show put on by contributions from the public and also the towns and, you know, the Chamber of Commerce.
Blackstone had a nice donation from the Guard.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's going to be food trucks.
That's right.
And cold drinks.
And
They need to
music.
eat.
Plenty to eat.
Music
Okay.
at
That's
both.
it. And
Music,
so
music,
I just
music
want
at both of them. Okay.
yeah, so I just want to wish everybody a happy, but more importantly, safe 4th of July and enjoy your time with your families.
Supervisor Toth.
I'm just going to say I appreciate each and every one of my fellow board members. I would encourage y'all to reach out to some of your citizens, any of them that want to talk to you, but also go shake some hands and see what their opinion is on the twice-a-year taxes and do what the majority wants to do, whether it be for our benefit, but the majority's benefit. And I think what you'll find is it's been like that for a lot of years. Since I started paying taxes, it was like that. And but we need to do what the citizens wish to do, not for what the county want to get 6 months early money so they can go splurging it while they got money earning interest in the bank and got some in the general fund that they can get by 6 months without collecting the money from the poor citizens. Nottoway, they can't hardly pay it once a year. But having said that, that's it. Thank you, sir.
All right. Still enjoy being on the board. Looking at, you know, the assets that we have and the expenses that we have. This discussion tonight about aviation is important because it is industrial. It would put property back into private hands. Kind of convoluted how you get there if we're trying to access all the grant money. So that was our intention, was to try to create an aviation industrial park, and we'll continue to have conversations about that. Everybody's got more information now, so we'll get there. I know it doesn't always.
Would it be worth the while still, because, I mean, 4 board members has not seen what we've seen, anyway. Should I set up a couple tours?
I think so.
If Mr. Alder would be willing to do that, would y'all be okay with it? Like an hour?
Oh, Jake Allman.
Yeah.
I got you, okay.
But anyway, I know government isn't always pretty, but we'll get there. We've got the property. It's adjacent to an airport. We have a good business there, and there are other businesses inquiring. And so we'll figure out the best way to do it for our citizens. And with that, we have to go into closed session.
Yeah, we should take us 5 minutes, folks, and then we'll be out.
Okay.
Somebody read that off before we just jump up.
That's right. You want to read it? Who's
I was
gonna read
looking
it?
for
I
it.
move
I put it here.
on the back of your agenda.
Yes. Here it is. All right. I move that the Board of Supervisors of Nottoway County, Virginia adjourn into closed meeting pursuant to Code of Virginia 2.2-3711A3, discussion or consideration of the acquisition of real property for public purpose or of the disposition of publicly held real property where discussion in an open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body, specifically property located near Fort Pickett, correct?
I think that's the new name.
That's the name.
Okay.
Supposedly.
Okay, because it, okay.
All right, we've got a motion.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Turn your mics up.
Thank you, guys.
resolution applies. And 2, only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered by the Board of Supervisors. And 3, no action was taken in the closed meeting regarding the items discussed. That's my motion.
All right. Somebody second?
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We need to certify. Mr. Toth?
I certify.
Ms. Norton?
Certify.
I certify. Mr. Ingram?
I certify.
Mr. Rourke?
Also certify.
Everybody certify 5 of them, Mr. Chairman.
Now I'll look for another motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Signify by standing up, I thought.
That's it.
Stand up.